prior to regular council meeting, we do have a couple other matters to attend to. The first one being a public hearing with regard to a dangerous and unsightly premise report. We'll do that, and then we have a development agreement following that we need to have a public hearing on as well. However, before we do any of that, I'm going to indicate that we are meeting in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and we are all treaty people as we work towards reconciliation. Also want to acknowledge the contributions, histories, and legacies of the African Nova Scotia people who have been here for over 400 years. Also, roll call, Councillor Sarah McKinnon, Councillor Clary McKinnon, myself, Mayor Lenny White, Deputy Mayor Bernie Murphy, Councillor Mitch McGregor, Recording Secretary Reed down at the end there, who took all care of all of our technical matters that we had to deal with before we could get going here this evening. So, first matter then will be, any conflict of interest in council to declare tonight? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on. First matter will be the public hearing. So I'm going to call on our building inspector, Manny Withrow, to present the report on the dangerous and unsightly for 1859 Acadia Avenue.
Okay, thank you, council. We'll go over a bit of the process here, and then move into some photographs taken on the property. The town received a complaint on April 8th, 2024. Subsequent to that, I inspected the property on April 9th. The property is an existing dwelling deemed to be abandoned. There's no power. It's in poor structural condition. In addition, there's accessory buildings on the property as well in poor condition, and some debris spread around the property. Therefore, my recommendation will be for a demolition order later. So that has to come to a hearing tonight for this council to deliberate on, and I'll make a motion if that's the case. So, saying that, notices were posted. Notices were also sent to the owners on our tax roll for the hearing tonight. So I'm going to move into the pictures.
What we need to
I
do.
might need your help here. We've got a calendar and our CEO.
Hey, man, I'm gonna take it down. Don't let us show pictures. I'm gonna take it down. Who made the complaint?
Please, I'm going to ask for order from the gallery.
Who made the complaint?
You'll have an opportunity to speak after the presentation. We'll ask for anyone that wants to speak regarding the hearing on the unsightly. There'll be a time. Not now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, property council, there's some pictures in front of you as well. It is 1859 Acadia.
I'm wondering if there's any way we can make the picture the full size of the screen, Kristen.
That's screen here. So,
Oh, okay.
Might be a limitation.
you have photographs in front of you, council?
Oh,
That's-
yeah, I
that's-
was
yeah.
concerned about the
Of
public.
the audience?
Yep,
And we can pass the package around too if they wish. Sorry, that's just.
thanks. No, that's good.
So this is another photograph of the house as well. Another shot of the side. There was an addition built on it at one time. I don't know when. Back here, sorry. Bit of the backyard here, a bunch of pallets and debris around. It's one of the old accessory buildings. There's a few on the property, old baby barn that's in poor shape, and debris spread around as well. Some garbage in the backyard. Shot of some pallets, some old pallets in the yard. So I think, yeah, so there's another photograph. Sorry. Yeah, you see there's two baby barns here. Can you see that, council? It's hard to see on the screen, but in the photographs, there's, again, two accessory buildings there that are going to be recommended to be removed as well. I'll just take a shot to the front of the house again. As you see, there's no power in this building as well. Meter's gone. We probably still have electrical lines that we'll have to get, if it's demolished, no special power will be contacted to remove. So that's the building in question, council, that I'll be recommending a demolition order and a cleanup of the entire property when we're back.
Thank you very much, Mr. Withrow. Questions, comments from council? Anyone?
Certainly, the pictures tell the story, and I have looked at it personally. Thank you, Annie.
It's unoccupied currently, I assume. And the concern that you would have with regard to that building, can I ask more specifically with regard to the structure itself?
The structural stability of the building and being vacant and starting to rot into the ground. It sounds like the owners are here tonight, council, which would be interesting to hear from the owners and their intentions. So if there is some sort of wish to maybe renovate it or something, we can go down that path and talk that path if that's their wishes, but we'll see what they say.
Okay, so nothing else from council?
I'm content to hear from the owner.
I will ask, open it up to the public for comment, questions. All I ask is that you come up to the podium here to the mic, state your name and your address, and go from there.
Ricky Groves, I live at 1735 Water Street. And the cows were taken off. I guess I'm taking it down, taking it out. Okay? It's all gonna be done, taken care of.
Sorry, I didn't understand. Did you say you're going to take it down? Is that what you're saying?
We've already made arrangements.
You've made arrangements yourself?
To get a permit.
Okay,
The power's already taken off.
okay.
In
I just do not want that property taken away from me, 'cause I'm leaving for my daughter. Okay? Nobody in this town is gonna take that property away from me.
So,
Families since late 50s.
so
I'm just letting you know.
the question tonight, Manny, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but, and Sean as well, our development officers here. The question is with regard to the dwelling on the property and the other accessory buildings to be removed. It has nothing to do with the property itself, as far as, you know,
I just wanna know who made the complaint.
that's not divulged, it's a confidential matter.
That is where it starts to go downhill for everybody, when you won't even let that knowledge be known.
The way, the procedure, just so you know, and for the benefit of other people as well. Excuse me, just one sec, please, if you want to speak, would you please come to the podium and say your name and address, and then you can speak. Otherwise, we have someone speaking now. Go ahead.
I just want to say the power's been disconnected. We have arranged with Marinas to take all the buildings on the land down on Heritage Way and lock off.
Excellent, excellent.
This didn't have to happen. A phone call would have sufficed.
Understand,
You didn't have to show pictures of the goddamn screen.
Stop. No,
Understand.
I'll fix it too, because this is
That's
ridiculous.
ridiculous, man. Ridiculous.
So I apologize. That's his family home since.
I know the house is not.
yep, absolutely. No,
Advertise it.
I think we understand
My
that.
name is Patricia Cunningham, and I live in Foxbrook Road. Now, you're saying that you can't divulge who made the complaint. Wrong, right off the get-go. That should be public knowledge, because we all know that there is a group trying to take control of lands in Westville. It's no secret. You got all these tiny little lots that are no good to build on, but they're perfect for tiny homes. Let's just make that an agenda for everybody and get more immigrants in here and more people from Ontario when we've got homeless on the streets. Now, you're talking about unsightly premises. 50% of Westville is unsightly. Is there ever been anything done about the rat infestation in Westville? I've got hundreds of rats that I can't control. Where's the town's help for that?
You can make a complaint.
And where's that gonna get anybody?
Mr.
Because you just
Mr.
had
Withrow is going to
somebody
do an
make a complaint
inspection.
that was confidential, walked onto the property without notifying anybody, did what you needed to do, and still refused to say who complained.
We don't
I
make
think
those
we all
rules.
know who complained. Are we in agreement on that? Because it was asked, what do they plan on doing with that property? Because it's landlocked to another one. Can you imagine that, Joe?
Anyone else?
Fix the rat problem in Westville.
Anyone else?
Your worship, if I could, there is usually a time frame involved with the removal, and in fact, the proposed motion tonight does have a time frame in it. So, in a sense of fairness to the owner, what is the time frame that you're looking at?
He's gotta get the permit first. So, any time's good for me. But he's gotta get the permit first before he goes ahead and does it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure how long it takes.
Because the motion itself that has been presented to council indicates 30 days, giving it 30 days. Now, if,
Well, I don't know if it's 3 days for the permit or how long it takes to get the permit.
It'll take less than an hour for him to take it down. See, that's the thing, when you want that, you know, sneaky.
I wonder, Manny, can you,
Maybe I'll speak to the permit side of things. Demolition permits, when they're filed with town of Westville, they're turned over within 2 days. So, Marinus Verhagen was engaged. I would also email him a copy of that permit on behalf of the owners. So the permit isn't the issue, it's the time frame. If the owners are comfortable with 30 days, and this council is, or if they want more time, that's your decision as council. So my recommendation is 30 days, but you have that adjudicating body to make the decision.
thank you.
Whatever he can't do within 30 days, while he's busy doing something else. He's a busy man. You guys knock down, you guys turn me into the two.
Yeah, it's all done sneakily.
You want me to speak to
And if
that?
I can't pay you back, you take my property.
No.
I've already got things straight away with him. I don't want nothing to do with you.
Manning, go ahead.
So if we give an order to the owners 30 days, and if we get a letter from Marinus Verhagen saying he's tied up and can't get it done till 60 days, and we know that he's committed, I would come back to this council and say we'll grant an extension.
Right.
Because we got a contractor on the books.
Right.
So that, we've done
Yeah.
that before, because it could be weather, it could be anything, right? So
Yeah, I don't, I
that
think,
could happen.
yeah, I think we're gonna be more than reasonable about that. And having heard now that the owners plan to move ahead with the demolition in itself, we, you know, that's encouraging to hear.
So the motion, your worship, would in fact be 30 days, but if it isn't done within 30 days, then there would be the flexibility, providing Marinus is too busy to do it, then we could go to 60 days. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Or you said 60 days now, another 2 months, is that, that's council's, are comfortable with 2 months.
Right.
Let's give them 60 days.
We can change that.
That's a consideration, I
Yeah.
think is fair.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I'm cool with that.
So we will be dealing with this under the, when the council formally meets momentarily. When we move into the actual council meeting, there will be a motion come forward with regard to this. This is the public hearing stage to gather information both from our inspector and from the public, which we're in the process of still doing right now. If you have a comment, come forward.
Yeah, I just called Marina, and he said it takes about a week to get the permit, and the secretary's got them.
Right.
You do the day after you get the permit.
Perfect. Wonderful.
That's fine. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So just to be clear, just before we move on, and our CAO, by the way, is unavailable to be here tonight, but he is here virtually with us. He's here online, basically, and he can correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, and Manning can as well. He's the expert. Number one thing I want to say is, yes, complaints on deemed, considered to be unsightly or dangerous properties are made by individuals to the town, and there's a form for that you can get downstairs in the office. Can I just finish, please? Order.
Be transparent about it.
That initiates the inspection that Mr. Withrow does for us as our employee, and he determines what action needs to be taken, if any. And if he determines there's action, then we get to where we are this evening with a public hearing and a recommendation from the inspector to council. It has nothing to do with acquiring property in town. We do not take buildings down because they're unsightly and the town acquire the property, except, this is important, if it's a tax matter. If the taxes have not been paid on the property through a reasonable prescribed time and attempts have been made, then the property can be going up for tax sale. And you'll see that from time to time, and Westville's not the only place that you see that through the entire province. That's the way it works under the Municipal Governments Act that we operate under. You know, and these things, this protocol that we're talking about is not something that we decide upon. We're mandated by the acts of the province as to how to deal with unsightly and dangerous properties and how to deal with tax sales. It's not any legislation that we come up with or policies that we come up with. We are mandated by the province as a town, as a council, to do these things. So it's not personal. It's not anything of that nature. It's strictly what we are required to do as a council and as a town. And I want to make that very clear. Anything else that anyone has?
So I have a question. If I drive around town tomorrow and I see unsightly premises that are could cause a fire, and a bad fire to be that, it should be reported and the property owner should be taking responsibility for that. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
What I'm hearing, what I'm saying to you,
There's a property behind the old IOF building that's been cleared with deadfall all over it. That's a fire hazard. That's unsightly. There's
So-
unsightly properties all over this town, and we're here for one.
don't disagree with that. So, yes, what I'm saying is, if you feel that way as a citizen, you can get the form from the office. It's only a short little, as I recall, a one-page form that you fill in and file. Just let me finish, please. Let me finish, please. I let you speak. Let me speak, please. So you fill it in, and that report, that complaint goes to our building inspector, and he will in due course do the inspection and on his professional look at it, determine what needs to be done, if anything, if it meets the criteria.
If I make a complaint, it's going to be kept confidential. You know it's going to be.
It's confidential. The complaint is confidential.
I can assure you that it's confidential to the fact that even council members do not know who made the complaint, just to be clear.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can't.
Even
do
members
them.
of council don't know who the complainants are. in
exactly.
these
We do
matters.
not know who makes the
Just to be
complaint,
clear.
nor do we want to. It's totally confidential. The only exception, and this is where you can correct me, Manny, the only exception to the fact that it's confidential would be if the matter were contested in court. And if it was contested in court, then the person that made the complaint would have to come and testify in court as to making that complaint. That's the only time. Otherwise, if it doesn't go to that type of jurisdiction, it's never reported as to who made the complaint. Council members, by the way, cannot make the complaints. It has
Yeah.
to be made by citizens.
That's what I was just going to touch on. The complaints come from concerned citizens of Westville that make those statements and put them in. Yeah, and they're the rights, but the council does not do that. Like, as council members, we do not put those forward. Yeah, that's why.
At the town's cost.
Your worship, if I could, this is not the first time we've done this. We have even business interests on one occasion not that long ago. We had a property that was in bad shape, and it was on Main Street in town, and someone complained about it, and it was removed by the business. But if there is a situation that the removal does not take place, then the town would do the removal and bill the party involved. That's the way the process is. As the mayor outlined, this is something that is in place throughout the province of Nova Scotia. This isn't something that Westville has made up.
Contact the property owner, then notice was put up, and that was it, until a couple of days before this was to happen.
That's the required
That was
procedure as well.
appropriate? No,
That's the normal procedure as well.
go on to the next one.
That is the process.
I don't care, go on to the next one. 'Cause there's more shit coming down the road, and it's gonna be bad.
Thank you very much. No further comments. Thank you, Mr. Withrow. We will be dealing with this, as I said, in our regular council meeting with regard to the matter. Okay, next we're going to move on then to the public hearing with regard to a proposed development agreement at 1864 Acadia Avenue. Going to call on our Development Officer, Sean Day. Thank you, Manny. You'll probably reach her.
Should I take it in my phone there?
Yeah, it might. Sean, she's gonna take the mic over there.
Report on that one, Squid.
Yeah, wherever, the podium, yeah.
I wonder if they, that's 7 days notice. Oh, yeah, would have, because it would have been between here and here, that they would have got the notice of the hearing. So, yeah. I thought it might have been 30 days, because I thought that was quick.
So Kristen, there's no way we can make this full screen?
If the lights were dimmer, you'd be able to see it better.
Yeah.
Hit the lights.
Yeah, there's definitely one.
Oh, that's better.
It's better.
It's still gonna be really tiny though.
Move the screen. You move the screen closer.
I heard somebody the first time, I wasn't sure where it came from. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Don't touch that.
No, it's not the button, it's just the fact that it's an old system, and if you try and move it, it loses, and it may or may not come back.
The screen closer.
I broke it.
He had lost it then.
See, there was a reason.
Take blame for everything else. Well, that's me.
Oh, there we go.
Hopefully, we can find money in our new budget to get a new projector.
Would it help if I bounced out of 2 and then back in over here? Oh, there we go. Good show.
Don't touch anything.
No breathing.
Sean, stay where you are.
No breathing.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to apologize at the outset. I've pretty much entirely lost my voice. So it looks like I can be heard, though, from that green graph. As you know, we're here this evening to discuss a proposed development at 1864 Acadia Avenue, a new pocket neighborhood.
Just wondering if you can move the mic even closer to you.
Uh-oh.
I know.
I'm afraid to touch anything. Look, see? That one's yours.
That was on me.
Okay.
You can keep talking and I'll try and. They can see it on YouTube, it's just in here that we can't see it.
Okay.
So it's being broadcast externally, just not internally.
Just to set the context for this discussion this evening, everyone here knows that we're in the midst of a housing crisis. We've had a population boom in the province that started during the COVID period. We've had high interest rates, near zero vacancy rates, labor and supply chain challenges, material shortages, inflation, and in essence, this is all taken together caused housing and living costs to rise faster than pay. So this is where we are. Towns play a role in trying to do something about this, but our powers as a town, as a municipal unit, are limited. But we can, for example, take a look at our assets. We have been releasing some properties deemed surplus to the town's needs as developable land, so we've started that process. We're also reviewing our policies and procedures to see where we can streamline applications to create housing. We can rethink past practices. In part, past practices have gotten us collectively, not just Westville, but basically the Western world, where we are now. We in Westville have to identify potential infrastructure gaps and put in place measures going forward, which will allow us to receive applications for development without being slowed down. I didn't touch anything, but it's moving ahead without me. We can collaborate with other levels of government, other municipalities, other agencies, and we can write a lot of grant applications. Our CAO in this town is a master grant application writer. I've seen that firsthand. But those are all things that are going to help us going forward. What about now? What can we do now? So Westville is, in some cases, this is a double-edged sword, but we're blessed with a lot of undeveloped land. Better still, it's land that has access to roads that are already existing, and services, and they're around the core of the downtown. They're close to the community center. So now we have a proposal for a project at 1864 Acadia Avenue. This project meets all of those points I mentioned before. It's close to, it's about a 9-minute walk to the grocery store. It's serviced, it's on an existing road. So it's a great option or an opportunity to develop some housing in the community. The project is proposed by a collaboration of a local modular home builder and a developer from Halifax. They're proposing on the site, which is over 4 acres, they're proposing 6 buildings, each of which would have 4 units. The 4 units are all 2-bedroom units, which is one of the highest areas of demand for housing in the community. There are no garages or anything that would make this an expensive project. It's aimed at the lower end of the market housing range. So it's not going to be something that would attract perhaps doctors that are coming to work at a hospital, but it is going to attract the people working in this community. As I mentioned, one of the partners is a modular home builder, and there's numerous benefits that derive from that. The units are built in a factory, out of the weather, the labor force is there. There's vast efficiencies because of the nature of modular building, And it means that they can ship to the site and be assembled into the 4-unit structures quite quickly. The units are also designed in a way to be quite efficient to heat and cool, which is a factor, as well as efficient in layout. I already mentioned that they're within easy walking distance to the downtown. One thing that people often forget to consider when they're looking at housing choices is that if you can shed a car, the average Nova Scotian is spending about $9,000 a year on their cars. If you can shed a car by living in close proximity to your downtown core, that's $9,000 that can be put to other things. It can go toward rent, food, you name it. So when we have an application like this, we have to look at, well, what's the zoning? In this instance, the zoning is R2. I'm sure you can read all the things that are allowed in the R2 zone there. They're quite clearly presented on the screen. It's a variety of things that one can do as of right. You can do duplexes, 2-unit dwellings, garden suites, nursing homes, group care facilities. You can also have home occupations, boarding houses, daycares, bed and breakfasts. You can also, through development agreement, which is why we're here tonight, and I'll explain this in a moment, apply to do multi-unit residential development. So that's what we're here speaking about tonight, is an application to do multi-unit residential development in the R2 zone through the development agreement tool. So before getting into that, let's look at the context. Hard to see, but right now, this is primarily a wooded lot. And apart from houses toward Acadia Avenue, it's basically undeveloped all around it. There's a small waterway that flows just to the side of the site. So this policy, the one that we're under, policy RD9, that allows multiple unit dwellings within an R2 zone, has a number of factors that we have to consider as we are looking at a development agreement application. And I'm going to just quickly run through these. It talks about lot requirements in the zone. It talks about compatibility in the neighborhood, things like outdoor storage, screening. And by screening, we typically mean either fencing or landscaping, which separates existing uses from new uses. Municipal water and sewer, open space and amenity space. And there's also a very lengthy set of criteria that we look at under Implementation Policy 12. If I go through all of those, we'll be here for several hours. They're all in the report, though. To understand development agreements, I'm going to run through a few points for you. First of all, there has to be a policy set up to enable us to consider a development through development agreement. In this case, there is. It's the one I mentioned before, RD9. So back many years ago when these policies were adopted, this is one of the policies that was implemented. They require input from the Planning Advisory Committee. We've already gone through that stage. Like a bylaw, they're read twice. So first reading was at the previous council. They're subject to public consultation, which is why we have a public hearing. They may be appealed to the Utility and Review Board. These are a legal document once they're entered into and signed. A person who deems themselves to be agreed under the requirements of the Municipal Government Act can appeal to the Utility and Review Board. It's quite a process, and it takes some time. The UARB, if one did appeal it, would then decide if you qualified as an aggrieved person. They are registered with a deed. So whoever holds the deed, who's going to own the property, an agreement is registered with it as an encumbrance on the property. And as a consequence, the things that are in that agreement have to be done. And it also runs with the land. So if someone sells a property, their deed would have this encumbrance registered against it, and any new owners would also have to fulfill the requirements of the agreement. So this is something that's important to the neighborhood, for instance, and to the town, because it gives assurances that things will be done the way the agreement contemplated them to be done. So jumping into some of the main considerations on this project, one of them was integration in the neighborhood. This, if you can see it, and I apologize for the size, but in effect, the buildings are laid out in a longitudinal way. That helps with shipping the components, or the modules. The access obviously is over the existing entrance into that property. And the buildings in this case are a low one-story building. And obviously they're set well back from the street. And just in behind 2 mini homes that have properties at the street. One of the requirements I mentioned earlier had to do with screening. And so in the area between the homes and those 2 mini homes, there would be landscaping carried out that would, with the intention that it would provide a visual screen between the new development and those existing homes. There's also some along the eastern border, because there's an existing home on that side as well, although it's more distant. On this site, there is an existing waterway, and the idea is that stormwater on the site would be managed in such a way that it didn't negatively impact that waterway, although it would be used to, over time, take that water. And this is an engineering consideration that would be provided to the town as a stamped engineering drawing indicating this. In any development like this, we look at traffic. Our traffic authority has looked at it. In his opinion, the street can easily take this amount of traffic, and the sight lines are really good. So that's fantastic. We also look at servicing. We wouldn't be considering this development if it was unserviced, but we have water and sewer in the area, and the capacity of our lines in that area, we are told by our public works crew, won't be challenged by this project. We've also talked to our fire chief. There's a fire hydrant just off to the side of the opening into the property, and so he felt that there would be no concerns with respect to that. I should also add that when you do a 4-unit building, every unit has a 45-minute fire separation. And so it would be highly unusual if the Westville Fire Department couldn't get to the site before you move from one unit into an adjoining unit. In fact, I think impossible. These buildings also would have to meet building code separation distances that are prescribed under the National Building Code, which is intended to limit fire spread between buildings.
6 meters or 18.
In terms of open space and landscaping, every unit has access to a 20-foot, at least 20-foot rear yard space through a door on the back of the units, and there's just generally a fair bit of space. This size property, if this was an R3 zone, it could contain this number of units on 1/4 the amount of land that this is in, although that does contemplate 3 or 4 stories as opposed to 1 story. Because we want to see housing happen quickly, because there is a need today for housing, we are putting in place commencement requirements, and so there is within the development agreement a requirement that the project starts within a year. We anticipate that we'll start much sooner than that if it's approved. And there's also completion requirements. And those are among the items that if for some unseeable reason things are delayed, council can issue an extension. However, we don't anticipate at this point at least that that will be required. One last thing I wanted to mention that impacts everything we do in planning. There are 6 statements of provincial interest, and they cover things like agricultural land preservation, drinking water provision, smart infrastructure rollout, and a number of other factors. But one of the main ones is housing. And what that statement of provincial interest indicates essentially is that every municipality has to strive to provide housing, both varied in affordability and also in type. So they don't want to see just big single-family houses in the town. They'd like to see apartments. They'd like to see any number of formats and also any number of ranges of affordability of market housing. Happily, this project nails that in the sense that it is providing market rate housing. It is intended to be as much as one can in an era when building is very expensive. housing at the lower end of the market range. And it also is in a different type. Any kind of unit that is joined together, such as these 4-unit buildings, are easier to heat and cool. They share walls that are already being heated by the neighbor or cooled by the neighbor, by comparison to a standalone dwelling. This is impossible to see. So, while the boxes would fit this way, the units would have this way. So that's the unit. You can see that there are bedrooms at the back, bathroom area, and then living spaces. By their nature, it is a long building, and that can be seen in the facade. But again, where it's set well back from the street, even were the area full of, for example, the classic Westville story-and-a-half houses, this wouldn't be really visible in the neighborhood because of its location. And so it was felt that this isn't a problem with respect to design compatibility. And that is, I believe, my last slide. And so, to my mind, this is our first big foray into helping provide more affordable housing, market rate housing, in Westville. And the agreement contemplates all the things that I've discussed with you tonight. It also has a section that talks about non-substantive issues. These are issues like exactly when commencement or completion happen and things like that, that have wiggle room built in. We're also looking, for example, can we do something with the facades to make them more interesting to people seeking housing? How are we going to deal with landscaping and stormwater? These are things that, as we explore it a little bit deeper with the consultants who are engaged to work on the project, we can make small tweaks that will improve the project. The big items, like how many units there are, these sorts of things, those are locked in. Those are considered substantive elements within the agreement. The only way to vary those is to actually come back and do this process all over again. So at this point, there's time for public commentary. But I just wanted to point out that going forward, the next step for council is in contemplating whether or not to adopt this agreement. So council can accept the agreement as submitted. They can accept it with revisions. That may take some time. They may not want to do that tonight, or maybe it's something that can be done tonight. They can send it back for further review. If some points are raised that haven't already come forward, council may feel that we need to step back and talk about those things. This is not a complex project, though. I don't anticipate that that will happen, but I've been wrong before, certainly. And ultimately, council can choose to reject the agreement, which would probably mean another attempt at it with a different kind of a project, but I don't know what that would look like. So those are the options, and we can review them again at that point. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Sean. If you could just turn the lights back on for us, that would be good.
I'll be bright.
We're going to hit a button over here to do something. Okay, did it. So at this point in time, you've heard the presentation from our development officer with regard to the proposed development agreement for 1864 Acadia, and I open it up then for public comment. That's why we're here. And same rules apply. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. I'll acknowledge you. Come to the podium, state your name and your address and your comments.
My name is Mary Fraser. I live at 1834 Acadia Avenue. And the reason I'm here is because my PID number, 650-72332, I've had it, and it's showing at the Registry of Deeds where I own the property, and I'm still maintaining taxes. I'm paying all the taxes, but yet, in 1998, when I got all these printouts, it's showing that the town had claimed it in 1998. Now, Twin Rivers is claiming it, but I'm still paying taxes on it. And I'm showing as the owner. And I'm wondering why this is like this. And I'd like for somebody to tell me.
I'll call on Mr. Day.
It's PID 6507732. She has documentation from the government in forms of a,
So is this the property adjacent
Yep,
to the
yep.
the proposed
Yeah,
development?
1834.
Is that what you're saying?
so she
Adjacent to.
has a deed, oh, excuse me,
Sir.
Your Worship, Tom Fraser, Pictou, Nova Scotia. Ms. Fraser wishes to exercise her property rights because she has a deed and documentation from the province that shows her as Lot 4, PID 650-72332, her as the rightful owner. And this property extends from, the development officer mentioned the creek. It runs 100 and some odd 3 feet, which going up to Acadia Avenue pretty well puts you on the doorstep of the first mini home there. So there seems to be some contention who owns it.
And I have all the documentation over there as
I
well.
guess the only clarification I need from Mr. Day is, and the developer, is how that property impacts the proposed development.
That's your way in.
It is.
That's the driveway.
It's the driveway in to the property. But I've never sold it, I've never given it away, so I can't understand how 2 other people
So,
complain
so
that
just
they
that
own
I'm clear, Mrs. Fraser, the proposed driveway in the plan that has been presented, in your opinion, is your property,
it is, and it's
So-
all blocked off.
just so we're clear.
Yeah, yeah, and it is, it's proving, I have a.
And you pay taxes on it?
I pay taxes, I've never missed my taxes,
So
Who do you pay the tax, to the town of Westville, I'm assuming?
town of Westville.
Okay.
So for people to be doing stuff, and there's already been a culvert put in there at some time.
And not only that, we've owned the property since 1963. We bought it in October of 1963. My parents had paid taxes before me, and I continued to pay taxes. It was the family
What's your civic
home.
number again? I'm sorry. What was your civic number?
1834.
1834, yeah.
I have there's one there with the town showing that they
So-
own it.
If I can just speak to Mrs.
What was the PID number again?
The 2332.
The PID number,
72332.
Thank you.
there's where the town claimed they owned it in 1968, or 1998, sorry.
Does say unresolved title right there.
So if I can just speak to Mrs. Fraser's comments. I haven't seen this particular drawing before, and it doesn't seem as though this reflects
This
your
is-
understanding either, or this
No,
one does?
no,
It doesn't,
I don't
okay.
understand it at all.
We knew that there were some concerns around property ownership. When we look at property online, it does show lands as extent uncertainty, but it doesn't include the lands that are part of this proposal. Those ones are shown as being owned by Twin Rivers Homes,
Yeah. and
very
that's-
clearly.
And
And-
that's where
So
it,
here's the deed.
So my question, I guess, for clarification would be, Sean, if you can, are we saying that there's 2 conflicting deeds or 2 conflicting, one saying that Twin Rivers owns it, one saying that Fraser's owned it?
It appears from our point that there is.
yeah,
The-
and it's showing 2 different PID
The same
numbers.
lot?
Yeah, and what it is, it's on an angle, on a parallel angle.
I guess what Ms. Fraser would ask, if there's 2 conflicting deeds, is there any documentation that shows where she gave up that property? Is there any real estate transactions or any deed registered? Because she has the documentations that says it's hers.
Can I just ask what you feel is the situation with this Lot 3 right here?
No, that, as far as I'm concerned, what I'm concerned about is Lot 4.
Okay, no part of this is on Lot 4. It's all on Lot 3?
Well, they have it all blocked off.
Okay.
And
Maybe
they're
it's this
claiming
pin that is,
And also they took, someone has moved my stake from my surveyor.
this property had stakes removed too. It was
No,
staked.
I don't
and
mean the
someone-
wooden ones.
Oh, okay.
I mean the metal
metal
ones.
ones,
Their
survey
survey stake, and they moved it down to the little
survey
culvert,
pins.
right? They moved it, and that's the second time it's been moved.
So just so I'm clear, and I can get your contact information and we can have further conversation about this, but this is where, on this lot 3, that is the entrance point as proposed, and this is the limit of the development as proposed along this line. And so my understanding from everything I've seen is that this coincides with land that isn't contended, or contested rather.
She owns this piece here.
See,
Yeah,
that's-
so
that's Twin
this doesn't
Rivers
read
there.
right. This is Twin Rivers, this is where the project
But they're
is.
claiming this is theirs as well.
This isn't involved in this
That's what
project.
I'm trying to bring up right here.
So the project is, and also this, I don't know where this comes from, 2011, okay.
Yeah.
So right now, the line actually comes down like this, and this is much smaller than is shown here.
Right.
So
Right,
the
right, right.
portions that are contested, that you feel are probably
This is
yours,
the contested stuff.
aren't part of what is being
Yeah,
proposed
lot
tonight.
3,
They were very
development.
careful to make sure they weren't on any of the land that is contested land, and which may in fact belong to you, and which you may have been paying taxes on.
Yeah, I've always
So,
been taxed.
just for clarification, where you say the ditch is, the creek,
There's a little,
Oh,
Yeah.
it's way tight over here is the one that we're
this
talking.
says, it's here.
Okay. This isn't anything to do with any of this development.
Sean?
I don't know what is over here.
Is the driveway, is the proposed entrance on PID ending 2324, lot 3?
Yes,
Right, not lot 4,
No.
which is 2332, which is the one in
right.
question.
But
Right.
no part of the project is on
Right.
that adjoining parcel.
so I'm confused why the town had claimed it also, right? I don't understand
When was
that.
this? I don't know when the
And
town
they
claimed
put a
it.
driveway on my property, and they,
There's one here that shows the town's ownership.
Who did that?
This is owned by the town here. This is.
Yeah, between,
They
yeah.
told me that it was his business.
Culvert work, was it?
So the reason that we're here this evening is with regard to the proposed development. So are we now saying, from the discussion that you just had at the podium, that the property that Ms. Fraser is concerned about is not involved in the development that being proposed?
I don't believe any of it is involved.
But
and-
I would like to know why I have an unresolved title, then why shouldn't I have a title first?
Sorry?
They're saying an unresolved title for that, so why shouldn't I have the title for my land?
I can't answer that. You'd have to
But
ask the
it-
lawyer that, I guess.
And I did call
unrelated.
the, registry, municipal government, or provincial government for titles and land. They told me I have to, they don't give legal advice or anything, so I have to contact their lawyer.
Correct.
She never registered it.
That was going to
I
be,
don't understand if people are claiming my land, why, and I'm paying for it, why I have to go through it.
The opposite, where they
Why don't they
didn't pay
claim,
taxes.
show me
And then they
where
did.
they own it.
See, it's on.
There's the one that said the town owned it. Was this it?
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
They claimed it in 1998, but it doesn't show the ditch or anything there.
Yeah, and so we're nowhere near this with this project, though. The project is way over here, and the line runs up like
I'm just
this.
so confused why they got my
this-
land all
I
staked out.
I don't doubt it.
But
Then
this,
why-
this
I
is
know it's
first mini
close,
home,
but I think
second mini
it's-
home,
Town lot.
Unrelated.
second mini, third mini
showed
home,
her
fourth
being
mini
There's
home.
no,
registered to
there's
Twin
no other
Rivers.
mini
No,
homes.
there's no, but there's the lots there.
It's just a narrow lot
But
right
if you
here.
also count,
Your worship, as a point of clarification, certainly a culvert could be put in by the town at some point, because in most cases, the town owns a distance from the center of the road. So having a culvert put in by the town would not change the water on the beans type
no,
of thing.
that's quite common
so who
practice.
do I get to come down and clarify?
So are we,
Is that you?
have we resolved this issue
Well, I
So-
would like someone
with
to
regard to the
clarify.
development? I'm strictly and only concerned about the proposed development. Does this qualify, the explanation that you're getting, and I'm looking at both of you, I'm looking at our development officer as well as Ms. Fraser, does that resolve that matter? You might have other matters with concern to contested property. I understand what you're saying, and I hear you. But all I'm concerned about, and all this meeting, all this hearing is to deal with, is that fact of the development agreement that's being proposed. Does this question of land ownership impact the development
But
agreement.
I would like to have somebody to tell me that, give it to me in writing, that they're not touching my land. Because I've been here before, and it's cost me thousands, and I want to get some clarification.
I think I just heard Mr. Day say that the proposed development doesn't impact that land that you're talking
I
about.
understand that, but I would like something in writing if you don't mind.
I think what we could do is have the surveyor who looked at it state that this is not part of the contested land.
Right.
Would that be,
Yeah, that would
Okay.
be
That
fine.
was-
And
that's
that way
my
I can have
suggestion.
some kind of paper showing me that what is mine.
Okay.
Because I've been told so many times, this person owns it or that person owns it. And it gets tiresome, and it gets very
Yeah.
expensive.
Yes. Understandable. Understand.
All right, thank you.
Hi, my name's Patty Malloy. I own 1870 Acadia Avenue with my husband Joseph. My daughter Kyla lives in the property, and she would be Lot 2, the mini home that's right in front of where the development is. And my concern is they've come on our property unannounced, no permission, drove stakes down right in the middle of our pool pad, right along the side of the trailer, with no explanation of what are you doing. For the second time, we pulled those stakes out because they did not have permission to be there. So I want to know, if you're not on our land to build it, what are you doing putting these stakes on there?
Once again, Mr. Day.
so,
Lot 2,
yeah, I understand.
right smack in the middle of my yard, like literally 3
But-
feet from the trailer.
Mind you, I have just had a baby less than 2 months ago, so I'm like in the house postpartum with my children sleeping. I have no idea that somebody is
Below the
literally
bedroom window.
right outside my bedroom window. Like when I'm thinking I'm in the security of my own home, like I feel very violated of my privacy.
So why are the stakes right where
So,
you have them?
First of all, I'm sorry that you felt that way, and that's a terrible time to feel that way. The town owns this parcel. This actually isn't part of this agreement.
Okay,
And the town is, as I mentioned earlier, we're selling off lots that we own. And so this land has been deemed surplus to municipal needs. So we're going to be looking at selling this piece of land.
okay.
And so in doing this, we hire a surveyor to go and stake out the corners of the lot so that people who may wish to buy the property can see where the property falls.
Okay.
And surveyors have the right to go on properties while doing their work.
But
So that's,
2 feet from the trailer, that's not your guys' property, that's ours.
it's, well, it is what the surveyor says it is. I don't know what the frontage of your property is. It looks like it's perhaps, let's see,
Did I
send
those pictures to you?
I can't tell from this, it's too small. What we see is that there's a gravel pad that is partially on the town property and partially on your property.
Okay, because when we brought the
When I
property.
purchased this
yeah.
house, it said it came with a pool pad, and there was already an existing yard fenced in that they wanted us to purchase for $5,000. So we didn't purchase the fence, so they've taken it down. But that whole spot was fenced in. Like, I was under the understanding when purchasing my house, it comes with a pool pad that me and my son enjoyed all summer last summer, swimming together, and now it's like, so am I all of a sudden not gonna have a pool pad to be able to swim with my son when it was I'm under this, like, bought my house.
get a
I
survey
didn't
when
just
she
buy it for
purchased
the
the home?
trailer, I bought it for everything that
Does she
came
have a
with
survey?
it.
It sounds as though someone was trying to sell you land that they didn't own. They may not have known.
Trying to take land you don't own.
So, are you guys willing to buy this property from us? Like, could you buy our property trailer, the whole 9 yards, so we can just get the hell out of there?
But, like, I've lived on this street
So,
for 24 years.
okay, I'm just gonna interject for a moment. Once again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but the reason for the hearing that we're now in is to deal with the development agreement that's been presented. So my question to you, my question is, does this impact the development agreement as
It
proposed?
does.
In what way?
Because we're, with our deed, we're told that we own over to this line where he says that, yeah, that they're gonna put the road in. We own right up to it, so why is the stake smack in the middle? Like, if you own right here, then why do you have stakes right in the middle of where you own and where we own? Like 2 feet from our trailer. You
Could I
cannot put a
mention
road in 2 feet from our trailer.
I'm
You
scared
could throw a rock at the
to
window from the
walk
road.
with my children and my animals up and down this road because the way people drive. I just went for a walk with my 2-week-old baby at the time and had almost got hit by a car. Like, it's scary, the amount of traffic that does go down that road and how fast they go. And I feel like if this goes through, that my children are gonna be in danger. And I've lived on this street for 24 years. I moved back here where this is where I want to raise my children, and now I'm scared to even let them out in my own yard. We were gonna fence just to the road to keep him off of the road, but if this goes through, I have to fence. I don't even know where I can even fence because there's stakes going right through. My fence isn't even all the way up yet.
Okay.
So if I may, because this development doesn't touch on this property, there's the intervening town land. What I would suggest we do is we can arrange a time to meet and go through the information I have available to me. And if you have your deed, you could bring that in to for that conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm easy to find. I'll be back on Wednesday, back in Westville, if you want to arrange a
Yeah.
time to meet.
How far over there?
Is that good?
Yeah, let's do that. 'Cause,
All right.
So-
I mean, it's
so
just
that-
too close to the house, right?
Yeah, so
Doesn't matter if
I appreciate your comments with regard to your traffic and so on. That's the sort of thing that is a valid comment at a hearing such as this, that you're concerned about a future development there would be the increased traffic and concern for your safety. That's what I'm interpreting what you said, correct?
I'm already scared for my safety. I'm literally scared to walk my children up the street.
That's a valid point to make, and we appreciate that. The other part with regard to the land, then, that's something that you're going to meet with Mr. Day and sort of go over, is that correct, Mr. Day, is that fair to say? And sort that out, hopefully, because it doesn't appear to impact the development agreement that we have before us, but it certainly impacts the pleasure that they have of using their property. Anything else? Anyone else comment? Question?
Wayne Morris, 2410 Cowan Street. Just a couple of quick questions for Council and Mr. Day. As per her complaint with the surveyors, you know, a lot of these lands in this town, there's probably survey lines going right through people's living rooms, so you really should get it surveyed. PID number 65072324 that the town presently owns, or did they already sell it?
The town still owns that.
Town still owns it.
It's been declared surplus.
Is that going to be given to the developer, or is it going to be sold?
No, the policy that we have, the procedure that we have, once it's declared surplus, which it has been, then it's put on the market through real estate.
So it will be up for public purchase?
Yes.
To basically outbid the developer?
It's open for public, for anyone to, it'll be listed with a real estate company, similar to what, if you
Yeah.
know the lot down here on Drummond, that was,
Okay.
had the sign on it, now had a sold sign on it, the same procedure was held
Yeah,
there.
no, I just figured to get the developer, the town might be giving it to the developer.
That is why that policy is in fact in place,
All right.
that it's made through real estate, public offering, anyone can deal with the real estate agent and make an offer on the property.
The town is not giving any future tax breaks to this development, are they?
No,
The driveway going in, is that a driveway, or is it going to be town
driveway.
owned? So the town's not going to be responsible?
Town is not
for
going to be responsible for that
For plowing
drive,
snow on
nor
that?
any of the other roads that will be in that development. The developer's going to look after those roads.
There's a lot of other vacant land there. Are the developers looking at any adjacent property?
I can't speak for the developer.
Yeah, they are. That's why they were sneaking around looking for information. You know that.
It's not true, but we had that discussion earlier.
No, because we know it is.
It's not something that we do.
Being condescending to women that are speaking.
I can assure you that's not something the town does.
Anyway. For either council or Mr. Day, what does extent uncertainty mean? Oh, no.
So
I
if
don't
I may,
understand what extent uncertainty means.
This isn't part of the agreement property, but it is the land that Mary Fraser was just speaking about. And so it seems as though,
Because I know this is her lot, so it runs all the way back?
well, this wedge that you see here
Yeah.
that says extent uncertainty, this is the area where there seems to be two surveyors with differing opinions. And so,
It's like you'll always get town that's been here for a couple hundred years or
Right.
whatever, you'll always get that, so. This piece of land between 2324 and 2316 that's blocked out with no number on it, is that already part of the larger parcel back here, this piece here?
That's the portion that the town owns. It was.
I thought the town owned 6,
No, that's actually this parcel and this parcel are owned by the developer.
they are one, okay.
Yes.
And that's not big enough for a driveway, they're gonna need this?
Nope, this is big enough. The whole driveway is on that parcel.
Lot 3.
So why,
This isn't part of the agreement. The
Okay.
part that the town owns is not part of the agreement.
okay. Since it's not part of the development, why are we talking about it?
Right?
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come forward.
My name is Helen Badu McLaughlin, and I'm a property owner in Westville. And just out of curiosity, I'm just wondering if I can know who, number one, the developer, I think you mentioned from Halifax, is it, that's developing it? If we can know the name of that, and if we could know the name of the local contractor with the build.
Absolutely. Mr. Day?
So the property is owned by Twin Rivers Homes, and they would also be the modular builder, and they're in partnership with Penwick Development. Penwick Development is the developer from the city who is partner, Penwick, yes.
Thank you.
Good question. Thank you. Anything else? Any questions? Or further comment from anyone?
I have one more question. So when this development goes in, is there gonna be sidewalks all the way up Acadia Avenue, the end of the street? Or there's no sidewalks there now, it's very dangerous. Oh, is there not?
Thank you, Mr. Morris.
I don't have a problem with that.
You answered my question. It's not planned at this point in time, I can say. Hopefully, I mean, and this is the whole point of, how can I say this? We're looking for development. We have, yes, it's been said many times, there's available land in this town. And we want it to be utilized for the best possible use. That's where our development officer comes in and dealing with our potential developers to make certain that what's being proposed is going to be of a benefit to town and all citizens. One of the benefits, obviously, is that the more residential development we have, the more tax base we have. The more tax base we have, the more money that we have to devote to things like sidewalks. So it's just part of the puzzle, to begin a redevelopment, a rebirth of this town. And I've been saying, I don't know, probably, I don't blame people for not listening to me, because sometimes I get tired listening to myself, but one thing I've been saying is change is coming in Westville. This is the first instance of that change that I've been talking about. There's going to be more development agreements coming before us in the near future. I'm going to say that. So, but we hope that the majority of residents are open to that development with looking at the benefit of what it's going to bring to the town going forward. If we don't move forward, if we try to maintain the status quo that we have, we're going backwards every year. We don't want to do that any longer as a town.
Can I ask you one more thing?
Certainly.
On Acadia Avenue, right where our main home is, it's the sharp turn right there, where it's a hidden driveway, the cars that are at low-income housing there are just ripping up and down that road nonstop. Black marks, screeching tires, home run yards. Are you guys able to put speed bumps in along that stretch of the road?
There's always that possibility, but I can say, I think I can say this without too much contradiction. When new development comes and when the pattern on the streets change, yes, the traffic patterns will be something that our traffic authority will be looking at and making recommendations to us on. It's happening now on other streets that already exist or have existed for a long time in town, where there's concerns of that nature. And we acknowledge that, yes, we have that issue that comes up quite often with particular streets with regard to alleged speeding. So there are things that can be done, yes, and that's part and parcel of changes that are going to happen when new developments happen. You can't happen just in isolation. There's other things that new development will affect. Streets is one of them. Sidewalks is one of them. Controlling the traffic is certainly a big one, right? And so those things will all be part and parcel of any new development in any area of town that we face. So, yes, I think I can make that assurance that those things will be looked at. Yep.
Can you guys please start making these development proposals more transparent to the community? Because I didn't know all this stuff is even going on. And
Right.
I've lived
Yeah.
in Westville
Yeah.
25 years.
Well, one thing that we do,
I'm not done.
sorry.
Thank you. Now, he mentioned that this was part of his proposal, which I think is an absolute joke. This certain part of it really irked me, that it would be beneficial because if they live near the core town of Westville, that they don't need a car and they'll save themselves $9,000 a year. We know that's not even possible because there's no jobs in Westville, so you still need your $9,000 to save a year for a taxi or a car to get elsewhere to work. So that part of your proposal was just a joke, a laughing joke. There's other towns that put in affordable housing. They are not affordable by any means. The Dunkeld at $1,700 a month plus your utilities. Nobody from this Pictou County on blue collar wages can afford it. So who are you looking to replace all of this Pictou County community with that can afford these housing?
Stand by, they're coming.
They're coming, we're getting more people in here when we have the housing crisis with people in the woods sleeping in tents.
Yes, there will be new people coming, yes.
So where's the help to get these people off the streets that are homeless?
That's a big issue.
That's
I don't think we'll
causing
solve that one
infestation,
tonight.
That's causing people to find needles and drug use. Drug use is rampant. I don't see the towns doing anything to do anything about it, and it's really heartbreaking at this point.
Well,
I deliver food to the homeless shelter,
so I would encourage,
and that is a joke.
okay,
We feed once a week.
can I respond now? I would encourage you to come, we advertise fully.
You do not advertise fully, because I've been here 25 years and I have yet to see anything. Where is
Every
it?
public meeting is advertised, it's
Where?
open to the public.
Where?
It's advertised online, it's advertised on the door
Online,
downstairs.
Yeah, okay, you're saying online, here we go. Not everybody can afford internet. Try again. Where else is it reported out there for people in this town to see?
Yes, Mr. Weirs.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, this development agreement was advertised in the Advocate.
Are you kidding me? If you don't buy the advocate, you don't see it. Where is
Could
it
you,
for
could you allow
taxpayers
someone
to
else
see?
to speak, please?
Where
Trying to
is it
answer
for
your question.
taxpayers to see is what I
We're,
want to know.
we're trying to answer your question, if you just listen for a moment.
The advocate
Mr. Weirs.
show.
CAO Weirs.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the development agreement has been advertised in the Advocate in two separate editions, because it's required by the municipal, the MGA, the Municipal Government Act, as part of the process for our public hearings. So it's posted on our door, it's posted on the town website, the town Facebook site, and it's advertised in two separate editions of the Advocate, and those are the current requirements of the MGA.
So
And
you
so
don't have
the
any
town
requirements
is
to the
done
actual
exactly
taxpayer?
as the legislation requires with regard to advertising this development agreement.
The other thing that I was suggesting was that if you think that you're not getting enough information, I encourage you and to come, make yourself present at all our meetings that are held here, most of them in chamber. Could you let me finish, please?
They got notices of this meeting. Where are they at is what I'm asking you. You have people that pay taxes. We need to be better informed of what you are doing with our town.
We try our best.
We pay their taxes. We do.
Absolutely, so that we all do.
Not the developer. We do.
We all do.
Start making things obvious to us who matter in this town. Thank you.
This was discussed at our Planning Advisory Committee meeting, which was an open meeting.
Again.
Your worship, the residents out of order.
Sorry?
Calling a point of order.
I will attend these meetings.
Okay, I'm going to call this portion of the meeting to conclusion.
Because you don't want to hear the truth.
I'd love to hear the truth.
And there it is. Condescending to women if I ever fucking talk about it.
Thank you for coming.
You're full of shit, and you're a liar that was in, yeah, joke.
Thank you, that's the best compliment I got today, I think. Go ahead.
Your worship, council, because this seems to be a contentious issue with a lot of people.
Somebody walks on my property unwanted, there's gonna be hell.
All over Canada, something like this usually happens, there's a notice posted on the lot. Is that an option that is available to this community?
A notice placed on the lot where the development is proposed?
Yeah, that there's a proposed development.
I don't believe it's required, but I'll,
But is that a possible solution?
I'll defer to
help
Mr.
you
Day.
alleviate, you know, your residential concerns?
Thank you for that. I'm actually going to be bringing a new public participation program policy to the town for consideration, and it would actually involve having a sign posted on lots that are going to have development agreement consultations going on, because I know she was very excited, and she's angry about things that we're all angry about and concerned about those same things. And it is hard to get notice out on these things, because not everyone looks at the papers, not everyone looks at the town website. We're kind of in a lose-lose situation with respect to finding ways to get news out about planning changes. And there has to be a lot of planning changes coming up, because we do have a current housing crisis, as everyone's aware, and we've got to find ways to house people. But that's a point that is well taken, and I think it is for cases like this, where you have an individual property that's being looked at as opposed to something that's over the entire town. Having a sign posted is one of the ways that we can help people in the neighborhood understand that something's coming up.
Very good. Yeah, and I think, my thought on that was always that until until there'd been a decision on the development made by council and with the developer, then I think, I hope signs would go up, future development with a picture of what it is or whatever. I've recommended that to several other developers to do that. It's difficult to do prior to it being approved, I guess, in some way, in my head, but I'll defer to Mr. Day and what he's going to bring us. I'll be interested to see that.
Your Worship, one other quick comment on that for folks looking for updates. There is a town email distribution list
Right.
that folks can sign up for and get emails and texts, or not texts, sorry, but emails and things of that nature of importance.
Good point. Yep, go ahead.
Before this meeting, I went back to the town minutes on the website to last year. I had never seen anything in there about this development or my property.
There would be nothing on there about this, no, because it was, the first time it would have been discussed would have been at the Planning Advisory Committee meeting, the last Planning Advisory.
Is that on the website as well, or no?
Sorry?
Is that on the website as well?
It should be, yes. Yes. That was held last,
21st of March.
the
It would
21st,
have been April 17th, I think, Mayor.
April 17th.
We would have to approve
I believe that's the right date, yeah.
And before that. It's been talked about twice. Yeah.
It's on YouTube. We have a YouTube, Town of Westville.
That's right.
No, I understand that. No, absolutely.
Posting it at post office where you know they're going would be.
Yep, no, we absolutely. And, I personally am delighted to see this many people in the chamber tonight. I mean, we ask for it. We plead with people, please come out and see what's going on in your town and make yourself aware of what's happening.
My issue is, we've been aware of this for the last 25, 30 years. Every time somebody new is involved in that specific piece of land across the street from my property, this happens. So that's where the concern is.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't go backwards, but we can go forward, and we can,
But we can't go forward by taking people's land.
we're not taking anyone's land.
I disagree.
I said that before. We are not in the business of taking people's lands. The
I'm
only,
not saying you're taking it.
well,
That's
no.
not what I'm saying.
If-
Twin Rivers.
If land's available on the market, anyone can buy it. But I think we've concluded the discussion on the public hearing with regard to the development agreement. I'm going to call that portion of our meeting to an end. And I don't know, does council need a break before we move on to regular council? Is everyone good? So we're going to now move on to our regular council meeting. The development agreement and the demolition matter, as I said before, will be dealt with in the body of the meeting itself. Thank you very much for coming, folks. Oh.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
So we're going to move on to number 6 on our agenda. That's the approval of the tentative agenda.
So I'll move to approve the agenda, the
Seconder?
minutes for.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, ready for the question?
Question?
Questions called, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Approval of the regular council meeting of March 25th.
I move we accept the regular council meeting minutes of March 25th as presented.
Second it.
Moved and seconded, ready for the question?
Question?
Questions called, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Moving on to committee reports. First one, general government. My report was printed and circulated. I'll leave it as it stands there, based on the amount of time that we have available to us. A few things I was going to comment on, but I'll hold fire on those. Councilor reports, then Deputy Mayor Murphy.
Yeah, I'll make mine short, Your Worship. Police Commission attended this month. PAC, the Rec Committee. We did some budget training sessions. A couple of points I'd like to make. The Social Committee met this month, and we're starting to lay out the acts for Music in the Park on Wednesdays in August. So we have 4 Wednesdays that we're going to be filling up, starting at 7 p.m. As well, I attended Glen Haven board training, which is a requirement for nursing homes, that their board be properly trained. The training was by KPMG, and it was very well done. Also have a Glen Haven board meeting this week as well. And SAC for Walter Duggan participated in a cell phone survey where they're trying to get the public's opinion on the level of use of cell phones in both elementary and secondary schools. So we'll hear more on that. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Clary McKinnon.
I'll be super brief. I attended numerous meetings and events, and I think the most important one was on April the 10th, and it was an announcement involving multi-millions of dollars involved with the integrated youth services, and 7 sites were selected throughout Nova Scotia, and one of them was Pictou County. And this will put millions of dollars into mental health and other youth services. So it's a real game changer in relationship to mental health. Attended several meetings involving the Riverview Home Corporation, involving in part the remedy report, and there will be a number of announcements made, and I'll do an update at the next meeting of council providing more info. The fire department met Wednesday night as council's representative there. I can't believe the amount of work that is being done by the department in relationship to a lot of lead-up events to July 1st, and also the anniversary celebrations. So many things are going to be taking place in Westville with the fire department involvement this summer, so stay tuned. The chicken barbecue is on June the 15th. And just one other thing, there has been approval for the town for a community orchard, which will be out in front of the library. That's good news for the town. And the community garden on town property is being developed by the Garden Club with help from the United Church and a couple other organizations. So trying to be brief, but I could comment a lot longer on a number of things, so that's it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Councilor Clary McKinnon being brief, by the way, just for the record. Councilor McGregor.
I'll be even shorter. So I was a regular month this month. Police Commission, Planning Advisory Commission, where obviously we discussed the development agreement. We had a training session and just lots of regular correspondence, emails and phone calls. It's just that time of the year. now that the snow is gone. Folks concerned about conditions of sidewalk and infrastructure and things of that nature. So, yeah, we'll be moving some stuff later this evening in relation to some capital work, so I won't steal the thunder on that. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sarah McKinnon.
Okay, I attended our volunteer tea and was pleased to nominate Chris Seelig and celebrate all of our wonderful volunteers in Westville, especially our Westville Volunteer of the Year, Danielle Fraser, for her community work that she's done with Humble Harvest. I went to our library committee meeting and was very impressed with all the programs and the work that's being done there by their very dedicated staff. I participated in the Northumberland Regional High School SAC committee meeting, and I'm really happy to see the efforts being made there to support student well-being and mental health things that they're putting into place for current high school students. I think it's very essential. I also got to fill out the similar survey that you filled out as well on concerns of cell phone uses and such like in the classrooms. And I was pleased to see a huge turnout at Walter Duggan's Spring Fling. I attended all other council meetings and responded to citizens' questions and concerns, and that is my report for this month.
Thank you very much, Councillor. CIA Wares, do you have anything?
Just a couple of things, Your Honor. Obviously, we're still working on the budget, and that's a good thing. I just wanted to update Council on the fact that several of the accessibility projects that had been approved by Council for the previous fiscal year are just moving towards completion. So there's new access to the rec building up on Foxbrook Road and a door there and a entrance ramp that will make use of that by residents and visitors to Westville who have disabilities much easier. The roof on the police, fire, and public works building is proceeding along. It's not quite finished, hopefully soon. The last while, there's been a lot of time and effort spent by staff on identifying the roads and sidewalks, building a multi-year plan for how to, resurface those, the roads and sidewalks in Westville. And as everybody who lives in the town knows, there's hardly a road or a sidewalk that doesn't need significant attention. It's the result of, quite a number of years of, less than adequate maintenance on them. And so Public Works is doing a great job in trying to address that. And finally then, I guess would be just to mention briefly the fact that public transit is coming to Westville in later May, we hope. And there was about a week and a half ago, a reasonably well-attended public engagement session where residents provided input into where the routes and bus stops should be for that new transit system. So we're looking at a 3-year pilot. And then, hopefully, if it proves successful, we'll be able to expand it and make it more useful by adding more routes and stops in Westville. And that'll help people in Westville be able to get to jobs in other parts of Pictou County if they have it, or use the facilities in other parts of Pictou County. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mears. Yeah, just to add to that transit comment, the proposed date that I have is May 27th. Hopefully that the service is going to begin in Westville. It will involve four runs, 4 times coming to town and leaving. And there will be 3 pickup and drop-off locations in town to start with. Those locations that we are proposing will be here at the Civic Center, Library Civic Center, one. Second one at the post office location downtown, Main Street. And the third one at the corner of Porter's Lane and Cowan Street. Those are the 3 locations that we'll begin with as far as picking up and drop-off sites for the 4 times that they come to town. Okay, moving on then to, and there will be information coming out on that, obviously, in the next several weeks, and some signage will be appearing in town as well. Moving on then to Protective Services report of the Chief of Police report, the Fire Department report.
Your worship, I'd move to accept the protective services reports, in particular the Chief of Police report and the Fire Department report is circulated.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Are you ready for the question?
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 All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Recreation, Culture, Leisure Services.
I move to approve the recreation, culture, and leisure services as attached.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Ready for the question?
Question.
Questions being called. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Just recommend that people take a time to look at the report of the coordinator. There's lots of things going on recreational, culturally in the town. Transportation and Environmental Health Services.
Your worship, I would move that the Transportation and Environmental Health Services report be approved, including water report, public works report, and solid waste report. So moved.
The seconder?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Ready for the question?
Question.
Questions called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Environmental Development.
Your worship, I'd like to move the environmental development reports, including the Fire Inspection and Planning Advisory Commission.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Ready for the question?
Question.
Questions being called. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. And to go back to comments that were raised during the public hearing, if anyone's interested to know what some of the things that are happening in town from a planning perspective, development perspective, I recommend getting a view of the development report. It's quite extensive. Okay, moving on. Correspondence. No one likes us. We didn't get any correspondence this month that I'm aware of. Number 10, then new and unfinished business. First one being the deal with the 1859 Acadia Avenue demolition order that springs from our hearing with regard to the unsightly report from our unsightly director.
Your worship, somebody has to make a motion even when it does concern or upset people. And I will make the motion on 1859 Acadia Avenue. The motion demolish the existing dilapidated dwelling and accessory building within 30 days, fill in the foundation to grade level, clean up any miscellaneous debris around the site within 30 days, and dispose of all materials and debris to an approved landfill site, and I so move.
Have a seconder?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Are you ready for the question?
Question.
Question?
Questions being called. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Acknowledging, as we do that the owners of the property indicated that they're going to take it upon themselves to make that happen as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So we will not have to engage any enforcement, so to speak, to do it,
No.
which we appreciate. Next item then is with regard to the development agreement for 1864 Acadia Avenue that was the subject of our development agreement hearing, public hearing, before we started council meeting.
I'll go ahead.
We need a motion with regard to that.
Yes, resolution regarding development agreement at 1864 Acadia Avenue, whereas Westville resident has proposed the construction of a 24-unit housing development at 1864 Acadia Avenue, and whereas town staff have worked with the proponent in question to negotiate a development agreement appropriate to the site and the zoning, and whereas the Westville Planning Advisory Committee reviewed the proposed agreement in detail at its March 21st, 2024 meeting and recommended to council that the development agreement be approved to go forward for a public hearing before proceeding to council for consideration. And whereas at its March 25th, 2024 council meeting, Westville Town Council endorsed the development agreement for 1864 Acadia Avenue being brought forward for consideration at a public hearing prior to the April 29th, 2024 council meeting. And whereas the required public hearing has been advertised and held and no serious concerns have been raised by residents, therefore be it resolved that Westville Town Council approve the development agreement for 1864 Acadia Avenue. So moved.
Have a seconder?
Second it.
Moved and seconded. Are you ready for the question?
On the question, Your Worship?
Yes.
So just to go over it one more time, so the boundaries of this development, there's no contested ownership boundary for any of this before we pass it. I just don't want the town to be brought back into something that we already approved, that could be a boundary in question. So we're 100% positive that.
It was raised, and I'm going to defer to.
I just want to make it part of the process here.
Absolutely.
So what I think we discussed was having a surveyor qualify this, saying that, in their review, they find that this is not part of, neither lots are part of the contested area.
Okay, so we should.
So we should move,
We should add that into the resolution.
Just wait on that.
Yeah.
Certainly accept an amendment to add those words if someone wants to do that, with regard to wording it that in the respect that subject to a successful survey indicating that the proposed development is on lands owned by the developer.
So if I may, this is not a resurvey.
Right.
This is simply a surveyor looking at
Right.
the information.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So my understanding, Your Worship, through to Mr. Day, is it was already surveyed.
Yes.
The adjoining resident just may not, in fact, like where the pins were placed by the surveyor in relation to the property that they bought. Was that my understanding from earlier?
So that we had two conversations.
Right.
One was with Ms. Fraser.
Right.
That was about lands to the east.
Right.
of the proposed
Sorry,
area.
yes, I'm speaking on the other side, yes, yes.
And on the other side, the lot that is owned by the town, or that every indication is that it's owned by the town.
Right,
That is not in any way related to the development.
right, that was my understanding.
Doesn't affect this motion that we have before us.
Correct.
In
That
any
one
way.
does not.
Right,
So, I believe what we talked about was that with respect to Ms. Fraser, because she wants assurances that this does not encroach on the area that she believes she owns.
right,
That we would seek a letter indicating that this is not part of the contested area.
correct.
Right.
And I
Two
hope that
separate
that's
things.
something that we can have, but from everything I've seen,
Yeah.
talking to
Right.
a surveyor, looking at property online, and every bit of information available to me, we are not on any contested area with
Right.
this project.
Right,
Yeah, to me, that's
Right.
doing your due diligence, so
Yeah.
I'd like that included in the resolution.
Yeah.
So are we all clear with that? Madam Recording Secretary, do you have it recorded that you could possibly enlighten us on what that amendment is? Or perhaps I can even ask the deputy mayor.
yeah, maybe, yeah.
CAO, where do you want to help us out here?
Yeah, what I was gonna say, and sorry, I had my mic on mute, so, but subject to, confirmation of ownership of Lot 3 in 1864, that, there is no, encroachment on contested, property.
Excellent, thank you.
I think that comes to the meat of what we're
Yeah.
trying to express. Everyone agree?
Agreed.
So we'll, I think the proper way to do this is if someone wants to move an amendment to add that.
I'll make that motion since I brought it up.
Okay, need a
Yeah.
second.
I'll second that.
Second for the amendment. So this is the question then on the amendment only. You ready for the question?
Question.
Questions called. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. So now we'll vote on the motion as amended, which will obviously include the amended words. Are you ready for the question?
Question.
Questions called. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. So the development can proceed to the next stage. Mr. Day, what's our next steps here with the development?
Well, I think we have a small freeze while we await that letter.
Yes.
And then, once we have that, and that would then cause us to submit an ad in the paper indicating the right to appeal. And the appeal would go to the UARB, utility. They can appeal based upon their view of the council. as
Overstep.
well as adopted the agreement in keeping with its own
Right.
policies, basically the grounds for appeals.
There's a time frame on that, obviously.
14 days, yeah.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, so this is, this should be hopefully good news for the town of Westville. We certainly appreciate the developer coming forward with the proposal, and we look forward to this development moving forward as soon as it is possible. And like I say, it's the beginning of what we hope will be several developments in town, residential of nature. Thank you very much. Moving on then to pre-approval resolution for spring debenture 2024. Someone like to?
Your worship, as background, on November the 21st, 2023, the town was pre-approved for temporary borrowing. I would move that I would move a motion to access a portion of that financing. I think that's the proper wording of it. The motion is to access a portion of that financing.
There's a,
Should be a resolution.
Oh, there is, I'm sorry, I didn't
And
realize.
it's
that
bridge
there was-
financing, you get a set for the next venture.
Okay.
Let's
I
get the-
didn't see any
let's
of
get the
those
proper
in
motion.
advance.
We can find it.
Sorry.
Yeah, we should flag them.
Here you go, Counselor.
All right. All right. Whereas Clause 66(1) of the Municipal Government Act provides that a municipality may borrow to carry out an authority to expend funds for capital purposes conferred by the act or another act of the legislature. And whereas Clause 91(1)A of the Act provides that where a municipality is authorized to borrow money, subject to the approval of the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, that the sum shall be borrowed by the issue and sale of debentures in one sum or by installments as determined by the council. And whereas Clause 91(1)B of the Municipal Government Act authorizes the council to determine the amount and term of and the rate of interest on each debenture when the interest on a debenture is to be paid and where the principal and interest on a debenture are to be paid. And whereas Clause 91(2) of the Municipal Government Act states that in accordance with the Finance Act, the mayor or warden and clerk, or the person designated by the council by policy, shall sell and deliver the debentures on behalf of the municipality at the price, in the sums, and in the manner deemed proper. And whereas the resolution of council to borrow for this approved by the municipal council on November the 21st, 23, be it therefore resolved that under the authority of Section 91 of the Municipal Government Act, the town of Westville borrow by the issue and sale of debentures a sum or sums not exceeding $1,031,680 for a period not to exceed 5 years, subject to the approval of the minister. That the sum be borrowed by the issue and sale of debentures of the town of Westville in the amount that the mayor, warden, and clerk, or the person designated by the council deems proper, provided the average interest rate of the debenture does not exceed the rate of 6.5%. That the debenture be arranged with the province of Nova Scotia with interest to be paid semi-annually and principal payments made annually. that this resolution remains in force for a period not exceeding 12 months from the passing of the resolution. And this is to certify that the foregoing is a true copy, blah, blah, blah. We don't need that.
We don't need that.
So, I think my motion was somewhat simpler, but I will move that.
I would agree.
They will look for that exact wording,
Well,
unfortunately.
you got it. I so moved it.
We talked about policies and procedures, this is what. Have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, ready for the question?
Question.
Questions called, all in favor, say.
On the
oh,
question, do you think it's important to maybe just articulate what this is as opposed to, like, we're not just borrowing
Exactly.
more?
I wanted to
See how
jump in on
wears.
that too.
Yeah, if I could, Mr. Mayor. This is to address several things that council decided to do. Purchase of a fire truck, repair of the roof on the police, fire, and public works building, and the purchase of a sidewalk plow. So that's what this is about, and I agree with Councillor McKinnon that the verbiage associated with this is convoluted and arcane, but it is the verbiage that is required by or provided by the government of Nova Scotia when doing these sorts of things. So it is, a format that is provided to us, and we, as the municipality, are obligated to use that resolution. That's what the people in the Department of Finance who are providing access to the ventures are expecting us to deliver to them so that they can then go into the market and secure financing for us. I hope that helps.
Thank you. So, are we ready for the question?
Questions?
Questions called, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Moving on to 10D, which is the tax sale, and this goes to comments made earlier as well. The only time that when properties are delinquent in the tax and it gets to this point, the town, under the legislation, can put them up for tax sale. And this is one case. Two properties went up for tax sale. 2150 Church Street received no tenders, and the land on Duff Street had a minimum bid of $1,419.74. And there were multiple bids, and the high bid is recommended. Council would need to, so we need a motion to approve the winning tender of DF in the amount of $2,501 for the property 104733991.
Your Worship, I would make that motion that we accept the winning bid of 2501 for property 104733991.
Seconder?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Ready for the question?
Question.
Questions called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Surplus equipment tender.
Before we actually read the motion,
Yep.
could the CAO maybe shed some light onto what the surplus equipment actually was?
Yeah, of course I can. It is basically the carcass of a very old
It's the grader, yeah.
Grader,
Oh,
yeah.
back of
Right.
our stockyard
Right.
thing. It has no motor,
Right.
it doesn't run. It has been sitting there for many years and is not of any use to the town in the sense that it is a different a different grader or different manufacturer than the grader that we currently have, which is also very old, just as a point of comment. But so that therefore parts that aren't interchangeable. So it's basically sitting there rusting away. And so we put it up on for bid just to even get rid of it. So and there was a bid, and it exceeded the reserve bid that the town put on this piece of scrap for all intents and purposes.
Okay. Are we good with that?
Yeah.
Yep.
We need a motion?
We have a resolution, I believe, that surplus agreement. I can read that. Whereas the town of Westville had municipal equipment surplus to its needs, and whereas staff duly advised the availability of the surplus equipment and accepted sealed bids for the advertised surplus equipment through April 17, 2024, and whereas staff opened the sealed bids on Thursday, April 18, 2024, and one bid exceeded the town's reserve bid, and the result of the tender process have been publicly reported to council. Therefore, be it resolved, the Westville Town Council accepts the results of the town's 2024 surplus equipment tender process. So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Moved and seconded. Are you ready for the question?
Question?
Questions called. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried.
We were missing one.
Should note that Councillor Sarah McKinnon had to step out for a moment, but we still have quorum.
Oh.
Moving on then to Nova Scotia Provincial Capital Assistance Program. Over to you, Mr. Weirs.
Yeah, so this is, in order to access the program, need council approval to do that. So this is with regard to positioning Westville with regard to the CCAP, the program, it's related to the search for water, for a water source for Westville. So you recall that last year we hired a consultant to undertake a desktop review of the geotechnical realities of the Westville area and Pictou County area, with an intent to identify places where it might be appropriate to drill test wells to see if there was a potable water source that was viable for the town of Westville. This particular program was successful and generated many dozens of potential sites that from a kind of desktop review showed promise. And really what this resolution is doing is asking for council approval to go to the next step. You'll probably recall that when I brought this forward, I said this was probably a 4 to 5 phase and 4 to 5 year process. This would be the second phase and the second year. And so what we would be doing then is taking the many dozens of potential sites to drill test wells and go through a process of what I think the geotechnical world calls ground truthing. And by what they mean by that is taking the stuff that you see from the geotechnical mapping and that sort of thing, and then going out into the field and determining whether it is actually possible to drill a well in some of the sites. And so, for example, if geotechnically it made perfect sense to drill a well in the middle of Victoria Park, it may not make kind of operational sense to do it, or if the perfect place from a geotechnical perspective is drill a well in the middle of a road somewhere, it doesn't make operational sense to do that. So process of ground truthing then is used to make sure that what we think we understand from the geotechnical studies and reports actually makes sense when you're on the ground in a field situation. And so what I'm expecting to do is to have that program open up. It hasn't opened up. It's expected to open up in May. I've prepared an application for the program from the town of Westville to do phase 2. And this would then be part of the application process that is mandatory. The the Nova Scotia government expects to see council supporting or being in support of these sorts of applications, hence the request. Hope that makes sense.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. Ready to move the resolution, someone?
I do it. Yeah, whereas the Province of Nova Scotia Provincial Capital Assistance Program is designed to assist municipalities with certain eligible capital projects, whereas the PCAP program covers up to 50% of eligible costs incurred in eligible projects, and whereas the town of Westville accessed PCAP to undertake a Phase 1 desktop geological and hydrological assessment of the Westville area of the 4-phase Westville Water Project, and whereas future work needs to be undertaken to identify high potential sites for exploration and potable water source confirmation, which involves potentially drilling exploratory test wells, and whereas such an activity is eligible under PCAP, therefore be it resolved the town council endorses staff on making an application to PCAP in 2024 to assist in the funding of Phase 2 of Westville's water project. And so moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. You ready for the question?
Question.
Questions called. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's carried. I think it's important to point out to residents, Scott, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor, what I was going to say is that, you know, the 50% that is required from the town, I believe can be covered through the Housing Accelerator Fund award, for lack of a better word, that Westville was fortunate enough to receive a few months ago. So that the search for water was identified as an initiative that would assist with housing development in Westville, and so it should be an eligible expense.
Yes.
Then, and I think that's a good
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to point out and make clear is that we are not experiencing any difficulty with our water supply currently in the town. Residents do not need to be concerned or worried. This is a proactive move that we are making as a town to make certain that down the road when we, you know, much reference, I've made many references to the future development in town. When the future development comes, that we'll have a water supply adequate to meet the needs of the future development. End of story. It's not anything related to any concerns that we have currently with regard to our water supply or quality of our water, which is exceptionally good. So I think it's important that people just are aware of that.
Yeah, there is no crisis. There is no
Right.
crisis.
We are being proactive.
in Westville.
We are being
It is,
proactive.
as you said, Mr. Mayor, all about being prepared for, you know, the government's already announced a long-term care facility for Westville.
Yeah.
That's not going to create a crisis, but, you know, hopefully starts to generate additional development in the town, which will need, you know, and eventually we will need more access to more water.
Correct. So we're looking at some good problems to have and getting ahead of them if we can. Moving on then to the Pictou County Partnership, and this is just for information. I don't think we need any action on these. Am I correct in that, CAO Weirs? There's no action to be taken on the Pictou County Partnership information. It's strictly for information. Am I right in that?
Yeah, I think that you've already approved, and it'll be part of the budget exercise, so.
I say that because I recall signing the document on behalf of the town, so I'm hoping that we don't need any motion on it. I know that it came from, I know that our representative on the LOC, the liaison committee with the partnership, Deputy Mayor Murphy, this was something that was discussed at LOC. I know that, at least I understand that to be the case.
Yes, Your Worship. This is basically just an extension of the current plan we have. I think the couple of changes is the extension to a 5-year plan, and that is just to give the group stability. I think they've proven in the last few years that they are doing the work. They're on the street. We're seeing the results, and in order to help them gain the amount of funding they do, and they do garnish a lot, they do gather a lot of funding. The more stable and the more committed the municipalities that are involved are with them, the easier the funding comes from the different levels of government. So, yeah, again, the rate doesn't change. It's still the same rate we would pay last year, but again, we'll be going through that at the budgetary process as well.
Right. So that, yeah, and all the units, all the 7 units that are involved locally have signed on to the extension of the agreement, which is good news for Pictou County. I believe the partnership is doing wonderful things for Pictou County, and a lot of it is not recognized, not broadcast widely, and perhaps recognized by all residents, but it's making a difference, no question about it. Moving on then, another water source project report, and I think we lost our CAO to the virtual world somewhere, I'm not sure. But anyway, we'll sure get him back.
Gone.
He's gone. Well, the water source project report, and I was going to call on our CEO for comment on this, but once again for information. I think he actually
Pretty much
spoke to
answered
it.
most of
I
it
think that
already.
was pretty much dealt with before the resolution with regard to the PCAP involvement. So I don't think we need to address that anymore unless someone has a question.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, Pickens Street Bridge. This is for information as well, just to make everyone aware of the work that CAO and Public Works have been doing in assessing that bridge, that Pickens Street Bridge, which is a bridge out on, obviously on Pickens Street, that's partially in town, partially in the county. And our staff have identified some major concerns with the structure of the bridge, and are concerned from a safety perspective with regard to that bridge. And I'm just trying to find it as I'm rambling on here. I know it's here. Yeah, right. So it's a lengthy report, and I don't know if I need to read it all, but it's for information more than anything, to make us aware and residents aware. It's been going on for the last year that the town staff has been concerned about the bridge and questioned the state of the repair of the bridge over Skinner's Brook on Pickens Street. Town engineer, Public Works, and the staff visited it several times and examined the structure. And I know that representatives from the province were also involved in that look. And basically, I think I'm safe in saying that they weren't as concerned as perhaps we are with regard to it, or at least indicated that. But we continue to be concerned. They made the fall during the meeting. The Nova Scotia Department of Public Works adopted the following position with regard to the bridge. Their position is that the Pickens Street structure has been classified as a bridge. Previously, it was treated as a culvert box, box culvert, I should say. Department of Public Works internal inspection process utilized a rating scale of 1 through 9. A level 2 inspection was completed in 2023, in August of 2023, and rated the deck and superstructure at 6, fair, while the substructure was rated 4, poor. The overall rating for the structure was a 4, which is poor. The level 2 inspection did note bulging in both abutment faces along this scouring, undermining of the abutments, which has resulted in some structural settlement. Here's the crux of it. At present, the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works does not consider condition of the bridge to be a safety concern serious enough to require the closure of the structure. They did agree that some repairs might be needed. The Nova Scotia Department of Public Works considers the structure, which exists, as I said, between the boundary of Westville and Pictou County, the municipality of Pictou County, with one abutment within the town limits and the one abutment in the county, to be a structure for which repairs and maintenance and future rebuilding is to be cost shared on a 50-50 basis between the town and the Department of Public Works. Nova Scotia Department of Public Works District Bridge Engineers finalizing an assessment of the structure. And they report, Nova Scotia Public Works, that is, anticipates that the following repairs are required. Replacement of the approach guard rail at all four corners to the structure. The existing bridge rail on the structure is relatively good shape. However, given the short span of the bridge, it would be easier and more likely cost-effective to replace that rail as well as in order to properly connect the approach rail to the bridge rail. To address the settlement in the roadway between both abutments, Nova Scotia Department of Public Works are proposing asphalt patching, which will improve the driving condition over the structure. They also will look at stabilizing the portion of the timber wing wall, which has more significant movement, since the separation between the abutment faces is relatively short, approximately 1.8 meters. Nova Scotia Department of Public Works will look at the possibility of adding additional timber bracing, which may be more cost-effective approach. Nova Scotia Department of Public Works will provide a cost estimate for this work to the town, as Nova Scotia Department of Works expects Westville to pay 50% of any costs of repairs, maintenance, and future rebuilding the structure. Here are the concerns that Westville staff have. Westville staff are under the impression the culverts at the limits of town were cost-shared structures and that the bridges were structures that were entirely within the purview of Nova Scotia Department of Public Works. Westville is unlikely to have the fiscal capacity to cover the costs of the potential proposed repairs to the structure in question if costs exceed four-figure amounts. An estimate of repair costs has not been provided by Nova Scotia Public Works, and therefore no provision for the costs has been integrated into the Westville 2024 budget process that we're in now. Options. Here are the options suggested by staff. Take an additional debt to cover the repair costs associated with the structure. Decline to cover the repair costs and accept the potential liability associated with having the bridge continue to deteriorate. Close Picken Road is the third option. Close Picken Road such that vehicles cannot access the bridge, thereby eliminating the town's liability associated with the deteriorating structure. And we have CAO Weirs back, so.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor, I don't know what happened, but I lost connectivity with you there for
You're back, so you came back at a good time.
Yeah, so just, with regard to this, there, our then engineer, town engineer, and Public Works and myself and some representatives from the county of, the municipality of the county of Pictou did look at that bridge last summer, the summer of 2023. DPW representatives were not able to make that appointment and weren't there. They have since looked at, as the report says, they've since looked at that structure, and while they have rated it as poor, they don't believe that it poses an immediate safety risk to the public. They are bridge experts, and neither I nor Public Works nor, in fact, probably our previous town engineer are actual bridge experts. And so, I feel, we have to kind of take the position, I guess, of DPW at face value. I am, however, concerned about it, and I have directed that town equipment not utilize that bridge. From an abundance of caution, I just don't think I want to have, not so much now, but, a fully loaded salt truck in the middle of winter is a significant weight, and I was concerned about that, and so we will not be putting Westville equipment on that bridge, notwithstanding DPW's perspective that the bridge is entirely safe.
Thank you very much. One point that I'd make very quickly, my understanding is in Nova Scotia, bridges, the structure of the bridge, the structural part of the bridge is the responsibility of the province. And the surface going over the bridge is the responsibility of the municipality that it exists in. So in my estimation, we would be responsible for the surfacing of the bridge. And the other point is, there was reference in here, the information that they commented that it's a box culvert. So if it's a box culvert, then of course they would not have the responsibility of doing any structural work on it. So I don't know if that's the way they're getting around it or not. But I question that, and I have that from the only reason that I say that, I spent 3 years on a roads committee for the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities, and with public works staff, the head engineer, and I recall very, very vividly during some of our discussions that it was pointed out what I just said. Structurally, the structure of bridges is the responsibility of the province, the surfacing is the responsibility of the municipalities. So I don't know where we go with that.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I was under that same impression. That's not what the people that, myself and public works staff met with. That wasn't their understanding or position. Their understanding is that in the past they may have seen that particular structure as a box culvert. They've agreed that it's a bridge, but they are, I think the phrase they used was, we've looked to see if there is a servicing or maintenance agreement on that particular structure, and they have not been able to find one. So their argument, as I understand it, is that without an explicit maintenance agreement between the town and DPW with regard to how maintenance and repair costs will be allocated, it falls between 50-50 between DPW and the town. And they say they have, and I believe them, they say they've reviewed their files and were unable to locate an agreement. I've looked through the files that I've been able to look through and have not found an agreement on our side. So, it is what it is, basically. And as I noted, we haven't heard from DPW with regard to what the anticipated maintenance and repair bill would be for that particular structure. We're into the fiscal year or so.
So
we'll have to make a decision about what to do, if anything, once it comes along. I take some solace, I guess, from the fact that qualified bridge inspectors have looked at it and said that there is not a public threat. They're writing now that there's no need to close the road or close the bridge.
So your recommendation, basically, what you plan to do then, if I'm interpreting correctly, is not to propose that we close the bridge or the street, but keep our equipment off it. That we have power to do that. We have control of that for the safety of our men and equipment.
Your worst.
That's correct. I mean, control what we can control.
Right.
I don't know that. I'm sensitive to the inconvenience that closing Picken Street would pose to a great number of people on the other side of the road, right? I mean, it's a bridge for a purpose. There's traffic there, people cross it, and closing it, would be, generate a huge inconvenience, and I suspect controversy for the town of Westville. And don't go there lightly. On the other hand, I am concerned that, on my watch, to be really direct about it, I don't want to be the fellow that has to turn up at some woman's front door and say, oh, X has had an accident and, a piece of town equipment has fallen through the bridge. I just am fearful of that. And so, as I said, from an abundance of caution, I've asked that we not put town equipment and therefore town staff on that bridge, for town purposes.
Thank you. Councillor McKinnon?
Your Worship, I'm very, very proud of our CAO and our public works staff in relationship to this situation. A long time ago, the CAO, he hasn't mentioned it, but this situation was raised with educational people in Pictou County regarding the safety involved. We have done everything possible over almost a year now from last summer, and it's a concern that was expressed in here in this council chamber by Gordon Chanel, who has engineering expertise in his background. And it's something that we have brought to the fore as forcefully as we can. And I believe this is a time, and certainly we have gotten assistance on a number of fronts from our MLA, who happens to be the Premier, and he has come to our assistance a number of times, which we're very thankful for. But I think it's time to raise that with the MLA and see if we can get something done at the expense of the province of Nova Scotia.
Thank you very much. I was going to ask CAO Weirs, is there something that you would be looking for from council with regard to this matter, or is this, is this purely an operational matter, and a lot in my mind it is that.
This was just a for information for council report. I've taken what I think is the kind of, the action required to put town staff and equipment in a safe place.
Right.
It's not that I disbelieve necessarily the position of DPW. As I said, they have the expertise and I certainly don't. So it is out of an abundance of caution, and maybe, I suspect from DPW's perspective, they will see it as misplaced caution. But as I said, I just a tough time imagining the pain that I would be inflicting on somebody.
Absolutely.
If something untoward happened with regard to that bridge and town equipment.
Thank you for the information. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, Your Worship, to CAO Weirs, I appreciate your caution. It's felt here too, and we've made our caution the same information available to Chignecto Regional School Board.
Correct.
That
yeah.
we've chosen to do this on our own.
Early on in the process.
Yeah.
After the inspection that I and the town engineer and Public Works did in last summer, I did reach out to the school board and say, look, this is my opinion. I've looked at the structure. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm afraid. And I raised this with you just because I would feel badly if someday there was a news story that said, school bus with 32 kids falls into Skinner's Brook. And so I said, take this for what it's worth. Here is the action I'm taking in the town of Westville with regard to that bridge and our equipment. I'm just letting you know, you do what you think is the appropriate thing. So I just wanted to let them know that I had a concern. And as I said, from DPW's perspective, I'm quite sure that they will see it as misplaced caution on my part. But you know, I'd much rather be called overly cautious on this one than under cautious. And so, you know, I've taken the action I've taken, and I just wanted to advise you as this council that, you know, there could be a liability issue associated with this thing in two ways, right? If it falls apart, we're you know, if somebody falls through, we end up being 50% responsible, it sounds like. And two, we're on the hook, it sounds like, again, for 50% of the repair and maintenance costs of that structure. So, and that was news to me when I was informed of that, because, you know, as I mentioned a few moments ago, I had been under the impression that the mayor was under, that there was a kind of known division of labor or known division of responsibility and fiscal accountability for bridges, and that bridges and culverts were dealt with differently. Culverts were the responsibility of towns, bridges were the responsibility of DPW in the province, and I was advised that I was mistaken, that from DPW's perspective is not the way it works, that there needs to be a written maintenance agreement between a town and DPW if there is anything other than a 50-50 split of costs.
Thank you, CEO Weirs. Getting back to the 50-50 split. So is that safe to assume that the municipality of the county of Pictou already has their 50% included in whatever arrangement they have for the management of their county roads, bridges included?
No, my understanding is that DPW picks up 100% of their costs.
Therein lies.
So it would only be.
Ouch.
The only municipality that would be required to contribute would be Westville.
I think we should declare ourselves a county under ourselves. The county of Westville. And you know, the province would have to be responsible for all our streets, all our maintenance, everything that we are currently struggling with to find monies to pay for. It's a matter that just drives me crazy, for putting it, you know, in good English, that disparity exists between rural counties and towns. And we won't address it here, but I certainly will address it at any opportunity I have in other forums. So there's nothing really that we need to do further on this. It's for information primarily.
It was really about advising you
Right.
that this is,
Right.
you know, it's rolling out. I had hoped, frankly, to have a number that I could insert into the budget and we could debate as part of capital, you know, developing the budget for 24-25. I don't have it yet. And I have no line of sight as to when a quote, for lack of a better term, from DPW is, whether it's imminent or not. So it could arrive tomorrow and it could be 6 more months. I really don't know at this point.
Yeah, just simply on your comment with regard to our own staff and, you know, using the bridge, not using the bridge, and advise them not to. And you're certainly within your powers to do that, obviously. You know, having come from the day of mourning ceremony last evening in Trenton, you know, I think anything that we can do to protect our employees and make sure that they're working in a safe environment is something we need to be consciously doing all the time. We had 18 work-related deaths in Nova Scotia last year, even although, you know, every workplace is determined to look after the safety of their employees, but yet we had 18 deaths reported as a result of workplace accidents, which is kind of sad. Not more than kind of sad, it's very sad. So let's move on then, folks.
Your Worship, before moving on, I firmly believe we have been told by engineering people that it's 50% our responsibility. You had a different understanding. The CAO had a different understanding. We've all had a different understanding on this. I would like to have a letter from the Minister of Public Works indicating that that is in fact correct. So I think we should take this further.
Your Worship, I was going to echo your sentiment in relation to the workplace fatalities and the day of mourning yesterday.
Exactly.
And then I was also going to make the exact same comment that Councillor McKinnon did as well, that I'd like to see that kind of in writing, a little bit more than just an email, maybe from an engineer at Public Works.
Damn
Just
right.
just two quick questions, I guess. One's been self-explanatory, so even if it were to be classified as a box culvert, it probably leans more the opposite way in funding, so that's a moot point, because I was going to say we could, maybe speak to environment or fisheries and see what they classified it as, but anyway, that doesn't matter. The other question or comment I would make is, in the rating, did Public Works consider or put a D-rating of the load capacity or the weight capacity of that bridge, where it's went from a level, whatever the ratings are, 1 to 9. I'm assuming 9 is the worst, 1's the best. It became a 4. Not sure if the structure underneath is a 6, how you can say it's a 4. But anyway, was there any consideration to D-rating the load on that for other vehicles coming through town, whether they be log trucks or what have you?
Right, yeah, that I don't know. The rating system is actually the reverse of what you said.
Okay, yeah.
So 9 is the best, 1 is the worst.
Okay.
And so my recollection, and I'm going from memory now, of the email that I got from DPW was that the girders of the bridge, the superstructure of the bridge, so the girders
Right.
that hold up
Just the opposite.
forward bed,
Better.
which is deemed to be good.
Right.
The abutments that hold up the girders were deemed to be a 4 of 9, which is deemed to be poor.
Right.
And that resulted in overall the bridge getting a 4 rating, a
Yeah.
poor rating,
Makes sense.
with the commentary that although it's been rated a 4, poor, we do not believe, we DPW do not believe that it represents a safety issue at this time, such that the bridge should be closed. So beyond that, I really don't have a line of sight, Councilman McGregor, into the exact process of how they do the.
So we can make we can
investigation.
certainly, as Councillor McKinnon and Councillor McGregor both suggest, we can certainly reach out to the department, to the minister directly, and indicate our concern that has been, listed here, and ask for an explanation on that sharing, number one, but
On the division of costs.
On the division of costs.
I think that's not an unrealistic
Right.
approach.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think, no, not I don't think, I know I do not have, and I know that nobody in Westville does have, on our staff, have the competence to dispute the rating that has been given,
No,
right?
that's
right.
We just
That's
don't
right.
have that.
Yeah.
The issue for me really is, okay, but if you think it's a poor and it's safe, fair enough. What I don't understand is the division of costs.
Fire department know about that.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
don't as
It
well.
would be nice to know that,
No, I don't either.
if that's the situation across the province, then that's the situation
Right.
across the province.
Right.
And we're kind of, we're on the hook. Westville's on the
Well,
hook.
we'll just
here.
ask them
So-
to initiate an agreement with us. That's simple. If that's all it takes.
Your Worship, to make this official, I would move that we get clarification from the minister in writing after outlining our concerns in correspondence with a CC to our MLA, who happens to be the Premier. Thank you. I so move.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded then. Are you ready for the question?
Question?
Questions called. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Thank you very much. We will see if that's done forthwith. Next item is Committee of the Whole. Once again, it falls on a Victoria Day holiday, so we need to decide whether we're going to move ahead or wait until June. To my knowledge, looking at our recording secretary, who gets these requests often, do we have anything agenda-wise that we're aware of CAO Wares, do you have anything that you're aware of for May Committee of the Whole?
No, I do not.
All right.
So I think that's probably a moot point then as to what date we set. I think we could safely say we'll move on to June for our next Committee of the Whole meeting.
Your worship, just a quick note, are we able to get some notifications on Facebook for that stuff as well when we cancel the meetings? I know that we sometimes put a
Right.
sign on the
Good
door.
point.
I know some folks were, you know.
Yes, very
No,
good point.
yeah.
I think we might have some of them in the audience.
No, yeah, that's all.
that-
That's what I was thinking. I saw a couple folks
that
that
arrived
had
for a meeting
showed up
that
for a
had been
meeting that was
changed or
canceled.
postponed
Yeah.
or canceled, yeah.
Just a
We'll-
little better notice.
Certainly, I know our recording secretary can look after that
Yeah.
for us, who also mans our website and all those wonderful virtual things. Number K is the municipal election, which is coming up in October. And we need a resolution, I believe, on that.
I can do that.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Whereas there will be municipal elections in Nova Scotia in October 2024, and whereas the Municipal Elections Act requires that municipalities take a number of steps to prepare to hold an election, and whereas Council has already determined that voting during the 2024 election shall take place using electronic means. Therefore, be it resolved that the Westville Town Council appoint Josephine McDonald as returning officer for the municipality for the 2024 Nova Scotia municipal election. Be it further resolved, Westville Town Council appoint the firm IntelliVote, I hope I'm saying that properly,
Yep.
as the contractor to deliver electronic voting software and services during the 2024 election. Be it further resolved that Council declares the election period for the 2024 municipal election to be from 12 a.m. Sunday, October 6th to 7 p.m. Saturday, October 19th. Be it further resolved that Council approve 2 advance polls for the town of Westville on Saturday, October 12th, noon to 8 p.m., and Tuesday, October 15th, noon to 8 p.m., 2024. And be it further resolved that in accordance with the Municipal Elections Act, every nomination paper shall be accompanied by a deposit of $200. I therefore move.
Seconder?
Second.
Second by Deputy Mayor. Ready for the question?
Questions?
Questions called. All those in favor say aye.
Just on
Aye.
the question?
On the question,
Yeah,
sorry.
just 2 quick points for the CAO. Just wanted to confirm that the other municipal units were in fact going to make similar motions for Josephine McDonald, as well as confirming that IntelliVote was whom the other municipal units are going to use, and that they do have a location in the province of Nova Scotia.
Right, correct. Thank you, Councillor McGregor. I wanted to make the comment that I apologize for the length of that motion. What we're trying to do is resolve a number of issues in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
Yes, all the other municipalities in Pictou County are using Josephine McGregor.
McDonald.
And Josephine McDonald, knew was an M name, sorry, I got it wrong. And IntelliVote as the service provider for that. IntelliVote was, by a fairly considerable margin, the cheapest of a number of different service providers who reached out to Westville and every other community in Nova Scotia. And I believe, and I'm going to get the numbers generally right, but precisely wrong, but the last time I checked, approximately 33 or 35 different municipalities had gone with IntelliVote. HRM has gone with a different service provider, but they were considerably more expensive than IntelliVote.
Right.
So, my recommendation would be that we go with IntelliVote. They were the least expensive. They are what all the other municipalities in the county are using.
Yeah.
And, I think that they will do a good job for us.
Perfect.
So just one more point of question. I know that we have said in the past, using electronic voting, we tend to have more people, it's easier to access, more people tend to vote with that opportunity. We will have an in-person place to vote as well, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
The gym will be the site for both the advanced polls.
Right.
And the full poll.
Right.
And there will be help available on those polling days, so that if people want to come to a polling station, as opposed to voting on their phone or their laptop or their desktop, and need some help, there will be assistance available there and on those days. And you know, as noted, the voting period is quite long, right? It's about 2.5 weeks or so, if I'm remembering the dates correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So there's ample opportunity for people to vote, and you know, voting electronically is really helpful in the sense that it is ironclad, secure, and you know, isn't dependent on somebody drawing a line through somebody's name, the right somebody's name on a list. It's done definitively and securely and electronically. So it's I think the preferable approach, and it's significantly cheaper. Just as a budgetary moment, it's significantly cheaper than adding. Let me put it a different way, to add paper voting in addition to electronic voting would add several thousands of dollars to the cost, and would delay having a final result potentially. So
Right.
it's the fastest and cheapest and most secure way to actually vote.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Anything else? Ready for the question?
Question.
Question.
Question is now called. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Moving on then to, I lost my agenda, sorry. Oh, here we go. The Capitol Street and sidewalk repair for 2024.
I can do that one, or you want to do it?
I can do that, that's fine.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Whereas the town of Westville Council will be holding a public meeting in May 2024 to present the proposed 2024-2025 municipal budget, with the budget approval to occur at a council meeting later in June. And whereas the preparation, execution, and procurement processes take a certain amount of time to complete, whereas there is an ongoing need to repair streets and sidewalks in Westville, and whereas the Canada Community Building Fund was put in place to facilitate municipalities undertaking such repairs, therefore be it resolved that Westville Town Council approve a maximum total of $272,000 to be spent on Capitol Street and sidewalk repairs, with the funding coming from the Canada Community Building Fund for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. So moved.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. You ready for the question?
Question.
Question's being called. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Moving on then to the public engagement session of our meeting, another opportunity outside of the public hearing for anyone that wishes to ask questions, make comment. This is your opportunity. We welcome it. And before I'm saying that, I commend those of you who stayed for the entire meeting. This is not usually as long as this. And I know how uncomfortable those chairs are out there in relation to these chairs. These are more comfortable chairs. Well, they were quite uncomfortable at times tonight, but generally they're very comfortable.
Just a few things. Looking at the planning and development report. And what did I see? Neighborhood commercial inquiry, Cowan Street. It doesn't give a number there. 4 potential uses for this property: a used car dealership, a bunch of other stuff. Where's that at?
I don't have it in front of me right now, but I can find it for you.
I pretty much read it for you. I'm just Collins Street's a,
It's a fairly large street, yeah, long street.
I think, Your Worship,
Find the number.
you would find that it's very close to Cowan Street Dental with
Yes.
yeah, one house in between, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the number, but that's
Yeah,
in that general
I'm
area.
not sure.
So that was basically just someone inquiring with our development officer about potential, doing something there potentially.
who's the landowner? Town?
Landowner. Landowner,
Not the town.
not the town, no.
it's-
No, these would be,
It's an
these would be,
individual who's inquiring.
these would be individuals or developers that are making those inquiries.
In televote, suppose there's no need of asking why. So we'll ask how much.
It'll be in the budget, I don't know, I have no idea at this point in time.
No. CAO Weirs?
Yeah, I think it's 70, either 73 or 7,600. It's one of those two. I've forgotten. I don't have the document in front of me right at the moment.
It's much
said-
less expensive than a paper process.
Yeah, but he said at the end that you're still gonna have in-person voting.
Yes.
But no paper.
No paper.
No paper, it's just
This is only to facilitate people that don't feel comfortable in voting at home on their phone or other device, or don't know how, don't have the capacity to do so. They can come to the polling station, same as if you were coming in to do a paper ballot. There will be someone there to assist them in doing it electronically. It'll all be electronic voting. There'll be no paper ballots.
That's right. There will actually be computers in the polling
Right.
station, and somebody will be able to, if.
Every vote will be recorded
Will be
electronically.
able to provide voters with assistance if they need
There was no paper in
assistance
2020.
navigating a computer. But there will be computers available in the voting, in the polls on both the advanced days and the actual election day.
And you can vote from an extended, beyond the advance poll days, the 2 days, and beyond the regular election day, you can vote from October the 6th until the 19th, I believe it is. It's open for a long time. So starting on October the 6th, people can start to cast their ballots electronically.
Okay.
Yeah, midnight on the 6th to 8 PM on the, whatever, 19th, I think it is.
19th, yes.
All right, and the other thing is Collins Street. A few weeks back, I sent a video to Your Worship and a couple of councilors on the condition of Collins Street, basically in front of my home. You're looking at an 8-inch drop pretty much for the entire length till you get to my driveway where it goes to over a 12-inch drop. And it's not much better between the other side of my driveway to Mr. McNeil's driveway. It's pretty much the same. Now, as somebody that has assisted so many motorists over the years that happen to drop into a pothole on either side of Cowan Street with blown rims and tires, anybody that happens to go off of there, this is what I sent in the video, this was my concern to the town. Anybody that happens to go off of there, this is so drastic, you're not going to be able to correct. You're going to end up into my culvert, and a small car is most likely going to end up on its roof in Mr. McNeil's yard. So I addressed this, and the next day, there was a couple of square placards there. So it was told to me that it's a week's responsibility. So as of right now, do you have a definitive date as to when Weeks is going to start the never-ending Collins Street project that was started in
This week.
September?
This week,
They're going to
this
start
week.
this week, are they?
yes.
Okay, and then the other thing is, I sincerely hope that the members of this council, CAO, Weirs, lawyers, and anybody else involved in the tendering process for this town, whether you're doing a major infrastructure project like that, I don't care if you're building a doghouse, if it's going to tender, you better have an end date on it with penalties, like other municipalities do, so this does not happen again. Because for a project to start in September with no end date, and they are laying asphalt in December. Now, I have a friend that deals with pretty much every company across the board here that does that kind of work in the province. And I watched them lay the first section of pavement from Main Street basically to just to Mr. McNeil's driveway. They laid one layer of that in plus 15-degree weather, laid the other one in -5. anybody that's involved in the industry, can you do it? Absolutely. They did it. Is it going to hold up? Absolutely not. We've dumped $2-point-something million into a development that is now stretching from September into May to pave 2.8 kilometers of road, give or take, possibly 3. We'll call it 3. I know it's 1.6 to my driveway from the Irving, so no, it's not even that. What they're responsible for is even less than that. Probably 2.5 kilometers. This is a big failure on the part of the tendering process of this town. Now, gladly, it hasn't led to an accident yet. Hopefully, they get their act together and do it. Pretty much the entire shoulder of Cowan Street from halfway up the neighbors there, all that is sitting in my culvert right now, the brand-new culvert that was put in. All this happened because, as I addressed when it went to tender, like, you know, before it went to, or after the tender was taken, that this tender and this road work did not address the 20 years of subsidence on that side of Cowan Street. Like, I've lived in that house since 1990, and that side of the road where my driveway is has dropped a foot from when I have moved there through subsidence. That's why the camber of that road is so drastic when you come around there, and then even further down the road. It should have been examined by someone, you know, whether it's Public Works here or whatever, and said, why do we have this much camber on the road directing all the water to the housing side of the road? But that wasn't done. The pavement is down. Hopefully they can fix it and do a good job, and hopefully there is some way to address dozing all of that shoulder into my driveway and into Mr. McNeil's driveway and right down to your driveway, because that has happened nonstop since I have lived there. That's why there was no ditch. That's why I cried for ditching, because every time they ever did the shoulder, it immediately got dozed in that winter, and it was just left there. So hopefully somebody in the town can look at that. Hopefully Weeks does a good job. I want to thank your guys' response to my video inquiry. It was more, I don't care, I know it's there. It was more a public safety aspect, like you're addressing the liability of the Picken Street Bridge. If somebody goes off of there and it's a 1 foot drop into my culvert, I don't know if the town would have faced any liability or not, but if they had have, it would have been on you guys. So you can say that it's Weeks' responsibility, but since the snow disappeared a month ago, Weeks has not been there to address the shoulder, right? And that doesn't require firing up an asphalt plant. They could have been here to address the shoulder of Cowan Street, and even down farther, it's the same thing. Anywhere where the camber's off a little bit, there's a big drop there now. So hopefully they get in this week, get the signs up, address it, get the road finally paved, and hopefully it holds up for more than a few years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wayne. And thank you for bringing that concern to our attention previously with your video. And as you mentioned, the next day, in fact, the signs, the warning signs went up along the shoulder to alert people off the danger. And, you know, yeah, Weeks is supposed to come back this week at some point in time between now and the end of the week to start finishing that project. And I just ask people to wait and pass judgment on the condition of the street when the work is totally completed. And, you know, I think safe to say we all share your concern that it wasn't done, you know, in one foul swoop last year, but that's the way it was.
Because they
So,
completed the jobs that had an end date with penalties
Correct.
in those tenders.
correct.
And they let you guys, they let us, this town, the taxpayers, say, no, we don't need to finish it. We can just keep our people elsewhere and finish up the jobs that
Well,
we have to finish up.
As you said, we wouldn't want them working on it beyond the time that they did because of the weather conditions. So, you know, if they'd asked us, we would have said, stop and come back in the spring, and that's what they're doing. So we'll hopefully see the completion of that. No one will be happier to see the completion of it than this council, I'm sure. We'll go from there. So anyone else? Comment, question?
Quick question, Your Worship. Just more Dave Dignan, North Main Street. Just wondering if we could get an update on the old high school. The developer that's going to do that, is it independent of whether or not the long-term care facility goes on that property or not? Is he gonna do something with that building, whatever? And if so, is there a date that he might be doing that?
Yes. The answer to your question is yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
there-
good.
The potential of the developer that's primarily interested in doing a development on the existing school building, that would be done totally separate and independent from the long-term care facility being located on that property. You know, bear in mind that there's, there's close to 20 acres there.
Yes, yes.
So, that's hopefully, we get bang for our buck.
Yeah.
We get good usage out of that 20 acres. And the developer, and I'll share this with you, it's, the first step in the process there was to do an environmental, first phase environmental study. And that has just been completed, and I just saw the report coming across my desk, so to speak, today, and it was favorable. No concerns with regard to that. We removed the oil tanks, existing oil tanks, and there was no concerns expressed by the environmental assessment. So that's good news, and that is encouragement to the potential developer who indicated upon receiving that, basically let's move to the next phase. So there is great interest in that existing building. I will say this: there's great interest in that building being developed separate from the long-term care facility.
Okay, good. The other one is if I could just get some information on, I was wondering about, on one of the other building things and that in there was this highway commercial water sales, conversion of heavy equipment to hydrogen. What is it going to be a big structure to do that, and or is it just some guy out of his garage, or what?
The company that's interested in doing that realized that they need a better water supply. They need more water supply, right?
Okay.
And so they've approached us with regard to that, procuring that. And CAO Wares can speak better than I can about that, but that's the gist of it.
It was in
That's what
the,
that
Your Worship,
refers to.
I believe it was actually physically located in the county, though.
Yes.
It was just the water they were
Right.
requiring about Westville, but it was
Right.
physically on the county side of the road.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Yeah, it was on the county side of the road, but the water would come from us through. Because we supply, a little known fact as well, I mean, as much as we buy water from Glasgow, we also sell water to the county.
Yeah.
The outlying area there. Anything else anyone has? Well, if we filibustered for another couple of minutes, we'd make it 3 hours, so could be a record, I'm supposing. I don't want to discourage any potential people looking at coming on council or vying for the mayor's chair. We don't always have 3-hour meetings, but sometimes it's necessary, and I think we accomplished a lot of important matters this evening. So I want to say, I said it before, but I'll say it again, I really appreciate all of you who stick around and sit in those uncomfortable chairs and participate in our meeting, and it's a great value to us.
Your Worship, we don't want to discourage the media person who is so good to show up here.
Absolutely.
we hope he comes
we did John a
back.
favor.
Oh, I got lots more to talk about then.
So I don't believe there's any need for an in-camera CAO Wares. Is there, or is there not? Or is there?
If the council would indulge me for a few moments.
Okay,
that would be
so we do require a brief in-camera, if we can have a motion to move in camera.
That's a motion to move into camera.
Second it.
Second, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's carried. We're moving to an in-camera meeting, and we're going to go